Welcome to the first World Cup Fantasy deadline stream of the campaign, because I have done this before a few years ago back in Qatar, and if you did play Club World Cup Fantasy last summer, well, welcome back, because I'm covering another World Cup sort of game here, and the same goes for the Euros, the Champions League, and FPL as well. We have just over 2 hours before the deadline as we have kickoff between Mexico and South Africa. And my team isn't fully locked in because we're going to get those lineups, and Rangel, for example, could pique some interest, especially with some goalkeepers like Galindez flirting with that 5% ownership. And if he goes above that threshold, of course, then he won't qualify for the scouting bonus, which gives you 2 additional points if your player gets 4 points or more. So at the moment, I've got Roche and Vargas. This is essentially the team I talked about in my team selection video yesterday in that double upload, which also included the predicted lineups. I've made some modifications there to my lineup predictions for all 48 nations, and one of them definitely needed amending because it included one player who's not even in the tournament, so that definitely needed to be changed. But the rest was fairly accurate, and there are always some contentious points and a few difficult calls to make. There is the news, of course, from today that Lamine Yamal is in training with the Spanish national team, but I still think he might not start. That's going to be another point of discussion throughout this live stream. And also the 12th man, do we activate it on match day 1 or 2? Ultimately, I would highly recommend using that booster in one of those match days. With a wild card, I talked about using it in the knockout stages, particularly on match day 5 or 6, but I am leaning towards the match day 3 strategy with the way the fixtures have sort of landed, and it allows you to go all in on the first 2 match days, use one of those chips, especially the 12th man, and I think the maximum captain is best used later on in the tournament. So you're looking at match day 8, possibly match day 7 as well, and you can still make substitutions by that stage, by the way. It was all covered in my how to play guide and the chip strategy video, but there's a lot to get through today, and I'll try to briefly go through the rules as well for those that are completely new. You might not have seen any content, or you're still confused about how World Cup Fantasy works, but if you have seen my content, then that definitely won't be the case. Welcome, Easy. Hello, everyone, to the greatest cup event, the World Cup. Yeah, you could definitely say that, especially on the international stage, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's, well, it's kind of a mixed emotions. Obviously, my nation as the holders, it's a different pressure, I guess, and it would have been nice to enjoy a few more months as the reigning champion, but there you go. I'm still always open to a World Cup. There's no doubt about it, and over the last couple of days, I have caught a bit of a World Cup fever, if you will, so I'm getting more excited by the minute. This is my draft so far, not locked yet. So this is by Easy, by the way, not me. Rangel, Neuer, Munoz, O'Reilly, Gabriel, Ricardo Rodriguez, Soufal, Bruno Fernandes, Sabitzer, Pulisic, Yildiz, Brahim Diaz, Messi, Mbappe, Kane. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Very balanced squad overall, and the front three, well, it's very tough to beat that, to be fair. And I'm just wondering what your 12th man strategy is. Maybe Erling Haaland this week, or Kai Havertz, or Oyarzabal. I think that's the only well, the only problems I have with your team is the fact you've got no German or Spanish attacker. And I think they can go big on match day 1. And that's why I mentioned those 2 forwards just now. Lamine Yamal could be, well, an interesting option for those that decide to take the risk this week. But we could see a case of him being subbed on for short cameos and then get the start on match day 3 against Uruguay. But that also depends on how Spain navigate the first 2 games. And if they win the first 2, then they might have sealed their spot in the next round as well. I want to be different than others. I saw a lot of copy and paste. Sometimes it's backfiring. I think the group stages with a squad rather than one match side. I think I get what you're saying there, but ultimately, this is the thing with fantasy games in general. When you go different, you get criticized. When you follow the template, you're kind of called boring. So you just got to play your own game. And sometimes it's about finding the right balance and a mixture. And I think I've got that with my current team, but that doesn't mean it's locked in, because some players like James Rodriguez are now at 5% ownership, I believe. So I need to revisit a few of these picks. Only a couple of hours ago, Laporte was at 5% ownership, and now he's back down to 4.9. So it could be a very late call in terms of which players will qualify for the scouting bonus. But just to give that sort of reassurance, because I'm sure a lot of people will be asking, it's about the ownership figure before the matchday 1 deadline. So it doesn't matter if a player goes above 5% after the deadline. It's all about what happens before we have that kickoff between Mexico and South Africa. Real Cup Fantasy GOAT coming. Thank you very much, Wei Sing. Always good to see you. I do think my team's got clear issues, but I cooked, says Empty. Well, all the best with that, and we can certainly talk about your squad throughout the stream. Yeah, we can change the captaincy multiple times. It's all addressed in my videos. So just like Club World Cup Fantasy last summer, you basically just go for the captain who features first. If he blanks, then go for the player who features next. That's just the way to go about the captaincy. And that's why the maximum captain chip is best deployed later in the tournament. I'd say match day 7 or 8. You're going to see my update chip strategy very soon. I try not to HR me, but that's another point that I should raise as well. If I sort of like hide the players I've got, then I'm accused of not being honest. And I just say it as it is. There are a few occasions where sometimes I've sort of revealed stuff towards the very end, mainly in the Champions League. That's where I've got a bit more copycats, if you will. And also, I'm trying to encourage people to go for their own decisions. So watch these videos to get information, stats. They can listen to my observations, challenge them, maybe agree on some points, and then you make your own informed opinions. And that's the best way to improve as a fantasy manager. But yeah, unfortunately, a few of my players are around the 5% sort of threshold, and that's going to be a constant theme throughout this deadline stream. Rangel will absolutely go over when he's confirmed to start before the deadline. I agree. I think that's a clear example. That's why the lineups might not always work in your favor, but it also depends. If it's a player that has high ownership anyway, but you just want to bring them into your team, then it's not so much of a problem. But for differentials like Rangel, yeah, I don't think he'll qualify for the scouting bonus for much longer. Man City are finished. Good to see you. Schick, Dzeko, Lukaku, Nunez, Mbolo, or Isak as a cheeky differentials. Okay, so I talked about Lukaku starting in my predicted lineups video, but I did mention De Ketelaere. One of the changes you'll see in the predicted lineup section later is I think Romelu Lukaku could be benched and we'll see De Ketelaere start. So that's something I'd probably revisit. I think the rest will start, so I'd probably rank them higher than Lukaku right now. At the moment, I'd probably lean towards Mbolo. Now, Isak does qualify as a scouting bonus differential. My preference is with Victor Gyökeres when it comes to Sweden, but I think Alexander Isak at his best, where he's a quality striker and he can still find the back of the net. And Tunisia is a very appealing fixture there for Sweden. And Tunisia just lost 5-0 to Belgium. But Sweden are a very inconsistent team. 3 wins out of the last 10 matches. And of course, there were a few friendlies that happened overnight. So Portugal beat Nigeria 2-1, and England got a 3-0 win over Costa Rica. Hopefully there are no audio issues, by the way, or anything like that. If there are, then be sure to let me know, and I will go through some of the things with you. Let me also see if this can... Yeah, that should be better now. I'm not sure why there was an issue with the chat, but you should be able to see the updated version now, and at least the messages are showing. Let's see how things go throughout the stream. And let's whiz through these questions before I go into some different stats and predicted lineups and graphics that you might need. Yes, everyone, keep your under 5% players. Yeah, but James Rodriguez probably won't be one of them, as Oscar says here. He is currently at 5%. But I did say this last year in Club World Cup Fantasy. I referenced Cambiasso from Juventus as one prime example. He had 5% ownership before the deadline of the match day, yet he still qualified for the scouting bonus. So I think with 5%, and I wouldn't risk it, by the way, but there is the possibility that still classifies. So it's probably 5% and under. But once a player goes to 5.1 and above, you can forget about it. Yeah, there will definitely be ups and downs in ownership, especially with players like Rangel. Not many other Mexican or South African players, I'd gather. I think every South African player will be a mega differential who qualifies for the scouting bonus. But yeah, I think with Mexico, Rangel is at serious risk. So this was covered in my predicted lineups video yesterday. I wouldn't make any changes. So I think Llorente right back. I think Laporte and Gubarsi as the centre halves. And on the left, Cucurella. Having said that, I think Grimaldo could get a start over the group stages. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think Spain have enough quality in those fullback areas where the likes of Borro and Grimaldo could get a start. So I'd be quite wary about picking a Cucurella or Llorente, to be fair. Have Pulisic in my team. He's quite consistent, though, on the international stage. I think he's got 33 goals and 22 assists. So it's a very solid record, and I think Pulisic is the best American asset. But from that group, I'm looking at Turkey. I think they've got a lot of attacking talent, particularly with Yildiz as a mega differential. And my favourite player there is Arda Güler, who won't be qualifying for the scouting bonus, but not everything is about that. There are other dimensions to the game, and I think Arda Güler could have a great tournament. Welcome, Richard Millerchip. Hey, Dylan, thanks for your World Cup content so far. It really helped me pick my team, but still tinkering. I'm glad to hear that, and so am I. And that's mainly because of scouting bonus, which I just said doesn't mean much, or it's not everything, but there you go. Good luck to everybody with the tournament, both in real life and fantasy. Likewise, hopefully it's a great tournament and we see some fantastic football. We all had our doubts about Qatar, but in the end, the quality of football was actually very high, and I'm very happy with the outcome. I'd definitely take the same winner this time round, but as long as we get a great tournament, well, that's the most important thing, you could argue, but sometimes it's all about winning. Thoughts on Mbolo? It's a good group for Switzerland. I don't think they'll score many goals in general in terms of like long term, but it's all about the group stages right now when you're picking your team, and you might even wildcard on matchday 2 or 3 regardless. So depending on your strategy, I think Mbolo still ticks all the boxes and he would be the main source of goals in that Switzerland team, but I think Ricardo Rodriguez is my favourite option they have to offer. At 4.5 million, he could be on penalties, and to have that as a defender is very rare. I think the other example was Ali from Iraq, who I highlighted yesterday in the predicted lineups, but he's actually a bit more expensive than Ricardo Rodriguez. So yeah, ultimately, Mbolo would be one of the better budget forwards. Not my personal favourite, but he would be up there. And once again, if you are really honing in on the differential aspect of the game, so you qualify for the scouting bonus with this player, I think Mbolo makes a lot of sense. Yeah, World Cup time, let's go. Yeah, the time has come. It's flown by, to be honest. I mean, it's already the 11th of June. It's crazy. The year is definitely, well, flying past us, but hopefully you enjoy the World Cup and this deadline stream. Stevo says, now then, Dylan, mate, outstanding work on your build-up videos. You've really helped a lot of people. Thank you. Very kind words from you. I've tried my very best, and yeah, I'm trying to sort of survive, if you will, in terms of my vocal cords, but hopefully it sort of hangs on. I would have probably posted a few more videos than I would have liked, but ultimately I got the key bits out there, and I'm also quite conscious of not just posting videos for the sake of it. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the content and found it insightful. Thoughts on Havertz 12th man on matchday 1? Yeah, I think Havertz is a brilliant shout. He was highlighted a lot in my team selection yesterday, and he was my main 12th man contender. So there is Harry Kane on matchday 2 and 3, but I talked about my sort of updated chip strategy. You're going to see it in the graphics fairly soon. I think matchday 1 or 2 is better than 3. I think there's going to be more rotation as we approach the end of the group stages, and you've got great fixtures, I think, for this game week and also for matchday 2. So Havertz would be one of the standouts for sure, and it also allows you to keep the likes of Haaland against Iraq to actually captain, because remember, you cannot substitute captain a 12th man. All of those rules were broken down in my How to Play guide and the chip strategy video. But I think Havertz is one of my favourite German assets, and it's actually his birthday today. Let's see if he can produce the goods for Germany. He's got a very good record for them. 22 goals, 18 assists, so 40 goal contributions in around 60 games. Very impressive record there for the German national team. And facing one of the worst teams in the tournament in Curaçao, I think Germany could go big, so I'm all for it. Mbolo or Oyarzabal? Oyarzabal for me. I like Mbolo. He's a bit more nailed on, if you will. I think there is a chance Oyarzabal's bench for Ferran Torres, but in my current predicted lineup, I've got both of them starting simultaneously with Ferran Torres on the right. Good evening as well, Maxim. Always good to see you. What a great tune. Thank you. It's actually from my cousin, and I've used it in many of my deadline streams over the years, and yeah, it's one of the main themes, and I listen to it sometimes, especially a few years ago. I was listening to it non-stop. Expected a great football on the pitch, even though what happened outside the pitch, and especially in the USA, we know a lot of chaos will happen again. Yeah, some very strange stories coming out, and even beyond the sort of political sphere, you're looking at the weather conditions. Obviously, the England game got delayed a little bit yesterday against Costa Rica, and that was something I talked about. I made a big point of in my recent videos. So be very mindful when you have two goalkeepers, for example. If there's a short window between them, you got to be very careful, because you might not be able to make the substitution in the end because the delay causes the first player to basically run into the second player's game. So that is going to be something else to look at, and we saw examples of that in the Club World Cup last summer. Thank you, Falcon. It's good speaking to you again. Hi, thanks for the great content. This is my team so far. Thoughts? So Crepo from Canada, Galindez, Kimmich, Elvedi, Robinson, Cucurella, Mojica, Elise, Wirtz, Kante, Rafinha, Bruno Fernandes, Haaland, Oyarzabal, and Mbappe. Okay, so I think what I'll probably do is sort of hone in on the things I don't like as much. So with France, maybe I got it wrong in my predicted lineups video. I went for Tchouaméni with Kone. It's probably going to end up being Rabiot again, isn't it? I don't think Kante will start. So he's someone I would revisit and try to sell to another player. Kante is at 5.1, so you're quite limited in terms of players at that price and below, but it might be worth downgrading somebody else to then upgrade him. Cucurella looks good as long as he starts, but I mentioned this a few minutes ago. There is a possibility that both Spanish fullbacks are rotated in one game because they've got Grimaldo and Pedro Porro, who likely won't start the games for Spain later in the tournament, but I think in the group stages they can get that shot, I should say, with Porro and Grimaldo. So there is a chance Cucurella is benched in one of these matches. Your hope would be that he isn't benched for the first two, because those are the most appealing fixtures, and you might wildcard by matchday 3 anyway, but it's a good pick as long as you get those starts. I also like the differentials in there, like Galindez, who is kind of flirting with that 5% ownership, so that could be a bit tricky. And I think Switzerland are quite underrated, especially defensively. I talked about Ricardo Rodriguez earlier. You've gone for Elvedi, who's a bit more nailed on, so that makes a lot of sense. I think with America, yeah, Robinson, you could find a bit better value, I think, in that defensive line. And you will see my predicted lineups video, or I should say the predicted lineup section very soon. And it was covered in yesterday's podcast, but I think you could find a bit better value if you really want that USA coverage. Apart from that, good forward line, no complaints from me. I think the only downside that I could really think of, well, you've got Wirtz to cover the Germany attack, to be fair. And you got Joshua Kimmich. It's a nice balance overall. I'm not particularly fond of the Canadian goalkeeper, so I would look at selling him to either Roche, Rangel, who probably won't be a mega differential for much longer. And you could even just go for more reliable goalkeepers like Diogo Costa. I'd probably avoid Emi Martinez right now because there's a genuine chance he doesn't start against Algeria. I think he will, but he's not someone I'd really risk right now. But the rest is really good. Elise, of course, is someone that hasn't featured in many drafts I've seen, but we saw the hat-trick he scored the other day against Northern Ireland, sorry. Yeah, so I think Elise is a very good pick. Rafinha's solid, and yeah, the rest looks pretty good. Kante's the only question mark, I think, in the midfield. Obviously, 2 or 3 of them are placeholders. I know Kante most likely not playing. Yeah, but you can still find a budget midfielder who actually starts, so my advice would be to get rid of him still, because you can make substitutions. You put those playing later in the match day on your bench, and you bring them on for your lowest scoring players, of course, as we talked about in the Euros and UCL Fantasy as well, and the Club World Cup last summer. Is Van Heck guaranteed to start? I wouldn't say absolutely guaranteed, but I think he will, with Durin Timber out of the World Cup. Thank you, That Air. As he says, be sure to drop a like on the stream, and I will be gifting 10 memberships in this live stream, so I'll give 5 fairly soon, and then 5 towards the end if we reach our goal of over 300 likes, and we're going to make big strides today in terms of reaching 40k subscribers on YouTube. Sane's ownership will be up to over 5% before the deadline. I'm not so sure about that, to be fair. Maybe you're right. I have to check what his ownership is. I haven't really looked at Sane. 2% ownership. I don't think he will. With Germany, most people are looking at Wirtz, Havertz up front, and Musiala. I think Sane's a bit underrated right now, but Carl had a great chance of starting in this World Cup, that's for sure. It's a genuine shame that he's missing it, and that could be a blow for Germany. Thank you, Banjo. Good to see you. Elise, good pick, but he's not in my squad at the moment. Almada's quite underrated as well. Over the past year or so, he scored some big goals for Argentina, including one against Brazil in a 4-1 win. And only the other day, he scored against Iceland. He's playing mainly on the left, and I think he also scored a great goal against Uruguay, if I'm not mistaken, but it's all a blur right now. So many matches I've watched with Arsenal, Argentina, and just Premier League, Champions League in general. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I think Almada is a decent option, very overlooked, and he will qualify for the scouting bonus. Quick question, Gakpo or Alvarez? Gakpo is quite solid for the Dutch national team, but I still have more confidence in Alvarez. The big question mark about him is the rotation. We could see him and Lautaro Martinez share minutes. Maybe Almada as well can come out, for example, for Lautaro Martinez, and you see both of them start together, but I think that's more so against Jordan, where we could see both Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez start together. But yeah, rotation is definitely an issue, but I would lean towards Alvarez personally. Good to see you, Drigger. Always good. Well, seeing everyone in the live chat, especially familiar names. Greetings, Dylan. Wonderful to see you for World Cup Fantasy. Likewise, and yeah, it's good to be back. I wish my voice was fully up to it, but I'm trying my very best. Mbappe or Havertz and Matchday 1 only? Arguably Havertz, to be fair, but I'm also looking at Matchday 2, and that's why Mbappe is in my squad. Paredes says, welcome everyone, happy holidays. And thank you, Dylan, for feeding us with great content. Much appreciated. Musiala and Wirtz. How bad is it not having a Spanish defender from Gemic 1? I don't mind having 2 German attackers for Matchday 1. I'm not a big fan of it against Ivory Coast and Ecuador in particular, but if you're wildcarding a Matchday 2, I'd probably go for the double up in the German attack. And if not, it's not a big deal. I'd still be quite open to it, but maybe a bit less keen. And my current plan is to wildcard on Matchday 3, and I'm probably sticking with just Wirtz at the moment, but Musiala's not too far behind. I think a Spanish defender's worth having, especially if they qualify for the scouting bonus. So you're looking at Llorente, who's also around 5% ownership, and Laporte, who has 4.9% at the moment. So, yeah, I think those two would spring to mind. I think both Spanish fullbacks, though, are at risk of rotation throughout the group stages. You could argue that's the case for any Spanish player, but I think they're more at risk than anybody else, so I'd be a bit wary about that. The other defenders you mentioned are pretty solid, but there is a rotation risk there with Brown. I think Gonzalo Inacio will start, even though some predicted lineups have Renato Vega in there instead. Ryerson is not going to give you scouting bonus points, but he's a very exciting player to own. And his ownership is still quite low overall. I think less than 10% still. So, yeah, really good defensive line, but I would be a bit cautious about Brown. If you have enough money, just go for Joshua Kimmich. I'm not sure if Igor Thiago will start. Brazil have different options. They can play Cunha up there. They can also play Endrick, who scored in a recent friendly. They can even play, well, several wingers at the same time, like Martinelli, who has a decent record for Brazil in recent games. But I'm not sure if Igor Thiago will start every match. And against Morocco, I don't think he will. Do you recommend Luis Diaz or James? James Rodriguez, if he qualifies for the scouting bonus, but at the moment, it's not looking too good. Actually, it's not looking too good. Haaland 12th man, Kane, Havertz, and Oyarzabal up front. Looks pretty good to me. I mean, there's always pros and cons, so obviously you can't captain Erling Haaland at this stage, but you might not even need it by the time that Norway play on the 16th of June. But I think Haaland is a very capable 12th man, one of the best you're going to get in the group stages on paper. And the alternatives would be Mbappe against Iraq, maybe Kane against Ghana on Matchday 2. Kai Havertz against Curaçao now. Sorry. Yeah, I think Kai Havertz as well would be an option. So I think those would be the main contenders for me. Even Oyarzabal against Cape Verde would be quite promising too. Yeah, my current plan is the wildcard on Matchday 3, which I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Hi mate, no Argentino English players. Why? You can't have them all. And England have Croatia first. I'm quite keen to have Harry Kane on Matchday 2. So I'll either bring him in with a free transfer, or I use the 12th man on him and have Harry Kane that way. But once again, this team is not fully locked in. I have to be very clear on that, because some players are mainly there because of scouting bonus, and yet they're at around 4.8 to 5% ownership. So if they rise to above 5%, they're not going to qualify for the scouting bonus, and therefore I'm less keen to have them. The prime example is Laporte, and even James Rodriguez, for example. He could be sold to Sabitzer. The downside to that is, well, James has a much better fixture on Matchday 2 against Congo, whilst Sabitzer's playing Argentina. So it's a balancing act at this point, and I don't want to book in too many transfers. No, I don't think they pick Richarlison. Yeah, Richarlison wasn't picked. The same goes for João Pedro. So the options I mentioned up front for Brazil are the main ones, actually. 12th man Matchday 1 or 2. There's not much in it, and it also depends on when you look into wildcards. So for me, it's Matchday 3, so it doesn't really matter. It's just about what I prefer. My gut feeling at the moment is Matchday 2, simply because we have at least one Matchday's worth of data and we can see or get a feel for the teams that are starting well in this tournament. And it's not always going to be the case where, you know, a team gets off to a bad start and you're like, oh, we should avoid them. Like Spain in 2010, they go on to win the World Cup. Argentina in the previous one as well. So that can also fool you at times, but it gives you more information and you have plenty of opportunities. So for match day 1, you're looking at Havertz against Curaçao, Oyarzabal against Cape Verde, Haaland against Iraq. I think for match day 2, Kane against Ghana and Mbappe versus Iraq as well. So you've got plenty of options on both match days. I think what I'll probably end up doing is using on Harry Kane on match day 2, but it's not set in stone. Yeah, I mentioned Turkey and Güler recently, so I'm not a big fan of their defense, but I think in the midfield and attack, they've got promising options, and Yildiz will qualify for the scouting bonus. Arda Güler is my favorite Turkish player, and I think he can have a great tournament here. And I'd expect them to possibly top the group, actually. I think it's quite a balanced one. Paraguay are very solid defensively, and you've also got USA with a host advantage, if you will, but I think Turkey have the best team, and they're in great form right now, unbeaten in 9 matches, so I'd be quite keen. There are a lot of goalkeepers priced at 3.9 million and under, so you've got the likes of Gunn, if you're backing him to start for Scotland, and you're going to see my predicted lineup section again very soon, but what I'd highly recommend is checking out the video from yesterday, where I go into a lot of detail of the form of every single country, set piece takers. I'm not going to be able to do that here in today's video. There's a lot of questions to get through and different things and updates to also analyze, but yeah, I'll try my best to mention some key bits, but yeah, you've got plenty of options. A lot of starting goalkeepers who are very cheap, but ultimately not all of them are worth having in your fantasy team. So Hammers down to 4.9, that's good. That's also a part of the game as well, where the fact that people go to 5% or over, people then start selling them. So it's going to be a tug of war at this point, but that's good news. Hopefully that sticks by the deadline. Is Laporte the most nailed Spanish defender under 5%? Yes, because Cubarsí has more than 5% ownership. Llorente Borro is a bit of a debate. I think Llorente will win that. And ultimately, I wouldn't say he's nailed on. Cucurella is the starting left back for Spain. But yeah, it's Laporte. He's going to be the one. What are your thoughts on goalkeepers with Galindez, Crepo, and Rangel all on 4.9% ownership? Rangel won't stay there for much longer. Mexico are playing South Africa tonight, so yeah, people are going to buy in Rangel once they see him start. Conversely, if Ochoa starts, that could be a different story, but I think it will be Rangel. And I will go through predicted lineups very shortly, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'm not a big fan of the Canadian goalkeeper, but the fixtures are reasonable, so I get that. Galindez, unfortunately, is the most likely to rise to above 5% in terms of goalkeepers who don't feature tonight. And I think Ecuador have a very solid defense. 5 goals conceded in qualifying. And Galindez has a fantastic record for the national team as well. I think it's, 16 clean sheets in 35 matches? Something like that. It's incredible numbers. I talked about them in my recent videos as well, but he'd be the one. Laporte qualifies for scouting bonus, that's why, and I think Cucurella could be rotated later on in the group stages. I think he's more at risk. The same goes for the right back, so whether you're looking at Llorente or Borro, I think Llorente will be the starter, but there could be a game where both of them are benched, so I'll try not to sort of go through questions I've just answered, just to be clear. I also want to go through different stuff and save my voice as much as possible because it is a struggle right now. Is it true that Muslera will start instead of Roche? It's a possibility. I saw the Guardians' predicted lineup and they had Muslera starting, so I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that Roche will be in the lineup, and that's why I'm open to selling him. But the problem with that is Galindez is probably my favourite goalkeeper to buy at a similar price tag, but he could also go above 5%. So it is what it is. Roche's not going to start 100%. Maybe you're right. I mean, I wouldn't say it's 100%. Maybe it's more likely Muslera does, but Roche is currently in my predicted lineup, and we'll see what happens there. Yeah, Gunn's a reasonable goalkeeper for matchday 1, but if you're not wildcarding on matchday 2, I probably wouldn't go for him because against Morocco and Brazil, I don't think Scotland will keep a clean sheet. Good to see you, Omar. Hi, would you consider signing someone from Turkey for midfield? Arda Güler would be my favourite, but from those two you mentioned, I would have a slight preference for Yildiz. He's very inconsistent, but also a streaky player. And Kalinoglu will be on penalties and several set pieces for Turkey. Thank you very much, and good luck to Ecuador in this World Cup. Drigger says Laporte, Saka, Gvardiol, Kuti as well, down to 4.9. Yeah, the Laporte one is of interest to me. He's been in a lot of my drafts and still on my team as things stand. Gvardiol is facing England, so he's more of a matchday 2 pick. Unfortunately, by the time we get to that deadline, he's going to be well over 5% in my opinion. So, yeah, Gvardiol, when I really want him or when I would be interested, it's not going to be too relevant in terms of ownership. Romero, though, is definitely one to keep an eye on. He's not a guaranteed starter for matchday 1 because he had a long spell on the sidelines because of injury. So we could see a centre-back partnership of Lisandro Martinez and Otamendi. So that's definitely worth bearing in mind, but Romero is still the first-choice centre-back when everyone is fit. There is a link that monitors 5% ownership for players. Yeah, if you've got a link, then send it. I don't think I've seen it about, actually, but that's quite handy. Let's see if that is there. But be sure to drop a link and we can have a look right now as well. Thank you for pointing that out. And we have a lot of people tuning in right now, which I appreciate. Let's get the stream up to over 300 likes. That's going to be the aim, sorry, by the end of the stream, whilst I try to survive with my stupid vocal cords. It's been an issue all week, but somehow I've been able to get a lot of content out for you. Paredes has been a member for over a year. Thank you very much, mate. Can easily do Inacio and Brown to Kimmich and Cucurella. I probably would. My preference in the Spanish defence is Laporte because of the ownership, but that's only if he stays under 5%, which remains to be seen over the next hour or so. But as a duo, I prefer Cucurella and Kimmich, that's for sure. Yeah, Ordóñez should be nailed on. I think Ecuador could also make a few changes to their defensive line. So, for example, Hincapié might not start as a centre-back. He might be on the left. And that means Ordóñez and Bacho centre-halves. And then you can see Franco on the right, who is classified as a midfielder in this game. Welcome, Oogie Boogie. Yeah, De Bruyne is a good pick. He was in some of my drafts, and he could still make his way into my final team. But yeah, I think with Belgium, it's a tough call. I would be more keen on De Bruyne if he had less than 5% ownership. It is just over that threshold, but yeah, I think Belgium have a good group, and they should top it on paper, that's for sure. So Crepo up to 4.9, Vargas to 4.4. I prefer Vargas for the first 2 match days. If you're wildcarding for match day 3, then yeah, that's what I would end up doing. I posted a link for the 5%. Thank you, Twisted Parky. I'll have a look. Yeah, I mentioned this a few times, Nuclear. So just to recap, match day 1, Havertz, Haaland, and Oyarzabal. For match day 2, I would say Mbappe against Iraq and Kane against Ghana. Those are some of the standouts for me. So thank you, Twisted Parky. I'll have a look now at the link that you sent. Oh my god, yeah, this is crazy. I'll have a look at it now on screen with you lot. But yeah, this is a bit nuts. So yeah, James Rodriguez is now bonus eligible. And then 20 players are climbing towards 5%. So Maxim Crepu, Raul Rangel, Mickey van der Ven, Vargas, James Rodriguez, Elvedi, and Galindez. Oof, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But one player that I'm quite interested in, actually, Victor Gyökeres, 5.5% ownership, and he could drift to below 5%. That's interesting. I think he's a very good matchday 1 punt. Not my favourite forward, but he's got a good record for Sweden. 27 goal contributions in 33 matches, and over the past 3 games, he's got 5 goals for Sweden. So I think that could be a very good punt. I'll keep this in the works there. So more to get through, that's for sure. What I also want to show you is some alternative picks, which I also highlighted in my team selection video. So you see the likes of Messi there, Havertz, triple German coverage. So Musiala and Havertz with Kimmich. Instead of Rochet to cover the Uruguay defense, I've got Oliveira. That could also be Varela, Dumfries, but to be honest, that's only if the likes of Laporte doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus. And I also have more faith in the Spanish defense over the first 2 match days. I think Japan can cause a lot of problems to the Netherlands, to be fair. In goal, Diogo Costa. Yeah, not going to be a mega differential, but good clean sheet prospects for the first 2 match days. I don't think Portugal are great defensively. We have seen that under Roberto Martinez, but they score a lot of goals, and that's why Bruno Fernandes is in almost all of my drafts, and I don't think I'm going to be selling him, to be fair. But Sabitzer could be my James Rodriguez replacement, and McTominay is also very likely to be in my 50-man squad. It's between those two, you could say, and yeah, James Rodriguez. Kevin De Bruyne at 7.5 million is still my preference in that Belgium attack, but you got De Ketelaere, a 5.6 million forward, Doku, who ended the season very well, and a few others there like Trossard, but I'd be less keen on that one. Apart from Haaland, you're looking at Odegaard in that Norway midfield, but Nusa had a very good World Cup qualification campaign, so he might take this World Cup by storm. And in that Colombian defense, I mean, Mojica, let's see if he stays at 4.9% ownership. The same goes for Galindez as well, but I'd be very keen on both of them if they remain below that threshold for the scouting bonus. So, let's go to this one. This is the fixtures that you can see. And let me just get the message up. So, the World Cup kicks off today with Mexico against South Africa. Tomorrow, we've got South Korea, or Korea Republic, against Czechia. And then Canada against Bosnia and Herzegovina. On Saturday, we've got USA versus Paraguay, Qatar against Switzerland, and Brazil facing Morocco, one of the standout fixtures from Matchday 1. Then it's Haiti against Scotland, which will be very early on Sunday morning. Australia against Turkey, and then Germany versus Curaçao, and the Netherlands versus Japan, which is another game I'm looking forward to. Then we've got Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast against Ecuador, Sweden versus Tunisia, Spain against Cape Verde, Belgium against Egypt, Saudi Arabia facing Uruguay, Iran facing New Zealand, France up against Senegal, and Iraq facing Norway. That's where Haaland could be the ideal 12th man or a captaincy option, but you can't have it both ways. Argentina will face Algeria on on Wednesday, Austria against Jordan, Portugal up against Congo, which could be a bloodbath. Let's wait and see what happens there. England against Croatia, and the final matches are Ghana against Panama and Uzbekistan against Colombia. That will be on Thursday, the 18th of June, so plenty of time to make your substitutions. So be sure to join my World Cup Fantasy Mini League. The code is in the description below, and there's an auto-join link as well, and you will see the code in many of my graphics throughout my videos. So, what I want to do now, actually, for a little bit, and maybe disconnect a little bit, you could say, from World Cup Fantasy, is make my predictions, and they're going to be off the cuff, very, yeah, I'd say, very instinctive, and maybe not too much thought put behind it, but I have done my research over the past couple of weeks of the World Cup and all the nations participating. This, with Group A, maybe I'm looking too much into host advantage, but I think Mexico will finish top. I think in second place, it's probably going to be between Czech Republic and South Korea. I'm going to go for South Korea, Czechia third, and then South Africa fourth. For Group B, Switzerland top. Then it's a bit of a close one, but I think it's Bosnia and Canada competing for second. And I'm going to go for Canada. Once again, maybe host advantage is playing a big impact there. Bosnia third and Qatar fourth. Let's not forget that several third place teams will qualify for the round of 32 based on the sort of best performing teams in that spot. I think Brazil will finish top. I'd go for Morocco second, Scotland third, and Haiti fourth, but I think Scotland have a genuine chance of qualifying. For Group D, I think Turkey. Maybe I'm overrating them a little bit, but very exciting football at the moment, and they're on a very good run. Their momentum is very serious going into Matchday 1, so I think Turkey would be number 1 there. Then it's very open between the rest. I think Paraguay could qualify second. I think I'm going to go for USA second, Paraguay third, Australia fourth, which might be a surprise to you. For Group E, Germany for me. But then it's a straight shootout between Ecuador and Ivory Coast, who beat France 2-1 on French soil. So a very impressive result for them in a recent friendly. But I'm going to go for Ecuador. I think they'll finish second. And then Curaçao would be last. Now, with this one, I'm quite conflicted. I think Japan and the Netherlands are the best teams in this group. I think Japan could finish top. I think they really have a good chance here. The Netherlands have had a few injury blows like Jurien Timber, and obviously their goalkeeper Verbruggen is a doubt for matchday 1. If he's fully fit, he will start over Flecken. But what I'll probably do here is go for the Netherlands first, only just. I think Japan second, Sweden third, and Tunisia fourth. Then I'd put Belgium top. Maybe they're not. Maybe there aren't enough upsets, if you will, in my prediction so far, but we'll get to that. I think in second place, you're looking at Egypt, Iran third, and New Zealand would be last. I'd go for Spain, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and Cape Verde. And yeah, if we just go to the bottom teams here. So France, Senegal, Norway, and Iraq. Still France first for me, but they might find it tougher than expected. I'd go for Senegal second, Norway third, and Iraq fourth. But Norway do have the advantage of facing Iraq first, so they can get off to a flyer, and that always plays a big part, I think, in the group stages. I think Argentina will top Group J, but Austria-Algeria is a very close call. I'd probably go for Austria second, Algeria third, and Jordan last. Then I go for Portugal, Colombia. This is a tough call between Uzbekistan and Congo. I think I'll go for Congo in third and Uzbekistan last. Then I'd go for England, Croatia, probably Ghana, and Panama. So there you go. And then the third, well, the best third place teams. Yeah, that's not an easy one. I think Norway would be one of them. Possibly Paraguay. I think that's going to be a low-scoring group. And a few others. Yeah, so I'll complete this side. In terms of like the knockout stuff, we can look more into that later on. I think this has to be completed before the deadline, to be fair. But yeah, we are warming up to kickoff between South Africa and Mexico, and we will get the lineups very shortly, and then we'll see if Rankel starts or not. But I'll go for Sweden, Scotland. Yeah, Ivory Coast. I think Algeria. And then we've got 2 more spots left. So that's where I think Bosnia could go through. And then I might go for Czechia. But like I said, it's a very rough team. And then when we get to the knockout stages, that would be what's in store for us. So very interesting. I'll go back to this very soon, but there are more fantasy stuff to cover first and foremost. So, a few days ago, we got this update about Lamine Yamal. So Barcelona gave the green light for him to return to the Spanish national team, and the agreement is for him to play 50 minutes against Cape Verde, 60 minutes against Saudi Arabia, and then he would be able to start against Uruguay if necessary. But he has been in training. That's obviously the big news from today. This was another source indicating that Yamal will play around 15-20 minutes in Spain's opener. But we'll see if that changes now and if Yamal actually starts on matchday 1. So once the Mexico and South Africa lineups are out, I will cover them. Oh, they are out. Okay, forget about that then. I don't think it's on the FIFA website. But yeah. Let's see. I don't think it's there. But yeah, well, at least we got it on SofaScore. Oh, there we go. So Rankel starts, and I'm going to keep an eye out on his ownership and see if it goes above 5%, that's for sure. Montes, Vasquez, Reyes, Gallardo, Lira, Fidalgo, Gutierrez, Jimenez, Quiñones, and Alvarado. So, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think I was very close to getting 11 out of 11. It was that Reyes sort of pick at right back who I originally went for. But then, yeah, I think I ended up going for the other one. With South Africa, so Williams will start in goal. Modiba, Mbozaki, Sibisi, Mudau, Ocon. And to be fair, I did use another predicted lineup there for South Africa, but I went through all the details in that video yesterday, so be sure to check that out. And I will be going through those other predicted lineups very soon. Mokoena, Sithole, and Adams are in the midfield with Foster and Reyners in the attack. So, yeah, not bad when it comes to the Mexico predictions. I'm quite happy with that one. So the lineups are already out. Rankel. Let's have a quick look at the transfers and see if he is now at 5% ownership. I think he will be. It's still 4.9%. It might be worth going to this website, which Tristan Parkey very gracefully provided. But yeah, I think Rankel will go to above 5% ownership. So we'll have a look at that one, maybe in a little while longer. So for those that are unaware, maybe you haven't seen my World Cup Fantasy videos recently, this was my first draft, and I won't really delve into it too much. I did it in my team selection video yesterday and all those respective podcasts as well. But I have made multiple changes to the first draft, and it sort of strikes a balance between this and the latest draft as well. And I think there were some, obviously, criticisms about going mega differential, but I do stand by a lot of those options. I think they are pretty good options in the grand scheme of things, and they can do very well in the group stages. But I have made modifications, and I'm going to highlight the key ones in every single position. So between the sticks, I have sold Courtois for Vargas, who is still qualifying for the scouting bonus with 4.4% ownership. Brown is a differential, but Kimmich is a better option. Doué to Rafinha is an upgrade in my opinion. Kane or Mbappe, though, that's pretty much a coin toss, and it can go either way, that's for sure. So my current team, and I haven't made any changes just yet, but that's still possible over the next hour or so, is having Roche, Ordóñez, Laporte, and Kimmich as my defensive line. Rafinha, McTominay, Fernandes, and Wirtz, so that's a double up in the German team. Mbappe, Haaland, and Oyarzabal, with Vargas, Nuno Mendes, Mojica, and James Rodriguez on the bench, who is still qualifying for the scouting bonus. Rafinha will be my first captain simply because he plays first. And if I do activate the 12th man this week, it's probably going to be Kai Havertz, actually. Now, there is a debate to maybe go for him over Mbappe, then have Elise in the midfield and 12th man Mbappe. I could do that, to be fair. Or at least 12th man Mbappe on Matchday 2 when he faces Iraq. Or just do it this week on Erling Haaland as well. That's another possibility, but that is my current plan. And I did talk about this as well with my chip strategy. You're going to see my updated version very soon. I think Matchday 2 is probably what I'm leaning towards when it comes to the 12th man. It's not set in stone, not 100%, but more so like 60-40 in Matchday 2's favour. That's the way I'm going about it at this moment in time. So very quickly, for those that are maybe unaware of how World Cup Fantasy works, you pick 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 forwards, and you start off with a 100 million budget. So you can play these following formations, and how do you even change your formation? You just make a substitution, and it has to be one of these valid ones on screen. A 3-4-3, 3-5-2, 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-5-1, 5-4-1, and a 5-3-2. And you can get more detailed analysis in my How to Play World Cup Fantasy Guide. So right now, all we need to focus on is the group stage. We can pick 3 players per country. The same goes for the round of 32. Then it increases as we progress in this competition. In terms of budget and transfers, we get an increase of 5 million when the knockout stages begin on Matchday 4 for the round of 32. So that'll be after the Matchday 3 deadline there. And all player prices are fixed. You won't see any changes whatsoever. You can make substitutions between your starting 11 and bench players as long as you keep a valid formation. And you can also change the captaincy. So all you need to really bear in mind is you can basically sub out any player you want as long as they've already played, and you're bringing on someone who hasn't played yet. And it's all addressed very, well, in a lot of detail in my recent videos as well. So the other slides also delve into the intricacies of how that works too. There is a fixed deadline for transfers and also a rolling lockout system to manage team changes during a live match day. If you make any changes, like a captaincy switch or you make a substitution, that will cancel automatic substitutions and the vice captaincy. And ultimately, you want to be in control of your team by making manual changes, so don't rely on automatic substitutions if possible. So when you captain a player, they will score double the amount of points. There is the maximum captain chip, which you're going to see very soon as well. You can change your captain as many times as you want. The wildcard allows you to make unlimited transfers. You can't use it on match days 1 or 4 because everyone gets unlimited transfers. With a 12th man, it enables you to pick one additional player to score points for your team on a specific match day. When selected, the 12th man cannot be substituted, captained, or transferred. You can pick any player to be your 12th man as long as that player is not already a part of your squad. Budget or team restrictions do not count here. Now, the maximum captain, once activated, it will give you double points from whichever player scores the most amount of points in your starting 11. This player will automatically be given the captaincy, and I'd highly recommend using it later in the competition. I've had great success doing that in Club World Cup Fantasy and the previous World Cup. The qualification booster was in 5 for the next round and plus 2 points provided they play at least 1 minute. Now, the mystery chip, there are rumors about what it actually is, and I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes' time, but this will be officially revealed after the matchday free deadline when the round of 32 opens, and it can be used during the knockouts. So all chips except the wildcard can be deactivated before the matchday deadline. You can only use every single booster once, and for extra time and penalties, all points earned during extra time count towards fantasy scores. This will be relevant for the knockout stages, not necessarily for the group stages right now. And with transfers, you can roll, but only between match days 2 and 3, and you can have a maximum of 3 free transfers. And for the knockouts, you get even more at your disposal, and that's why a lot of people are wildcarding very early on. So this is going to be the table for match day 1, unlimited transfers. The same goes for match day 4 for the round of 32, but we get 2 free transfers on match days 2 and 3, 4 for the round of 16 and the quarterfinals, 5 for match day 7 in the semi-finals, and for the World Cup final and 3rd place playoff, let's not forget, we get 6 free transfers as well. The scoring system as well, I'm going to kind of let it slide because I went into that a couple of days ago. And if you have any questions about that, let me know in the live chat. But of course, the main thing we're looking at is going to be the scouting bonus. Midfielders will get an extra point for every 2 chances created and every 3 tackles, which is quite handy. And for forwards, every 2 shots on target gives them an additional point. So the likes of Mbappe, Kane and Haaland will probably rack up a lot of extra points there. So you do get an additional point as well for scoring a goal from a direct free kick. And scouting bonus, that is going to be the big topic for today. So you need your player to have less than 5% ownership and they have to score 4 points or more. But I did say this before, there were examples in the Club World Cup last summer where a player had 5% ownership and they still qualified for the scouting bonus. So these are the deadlines. Of course, we've got one in just over an hour's time, so we've got no time to dwindle, if you will. And that's why I'm going to go into my updated chip strategy and delving into all the intricacies. So you saw this slide just now, so I'll whiz through that one. But now you're going to see a few extra details, and I want to particularly focus on the mystery chip. That's going to be a very important one. So we get 1 wild card. It gives you unlimited transfers. You don't get an unlimited budget, and your squad will not reset after the match day. These are the pros and cons, you could say, of using the wildcard early versus saving it for the knockouts. And I think there are genuine considerations for both. But I think with the way the fixtures have landed and a few other bits and bobs, I'd probably lean towards a wildcard on match day 3 instead. So this was what I originally went for, the wildcard on match day 5 or 6. But I would change that now. And I think 2 or 3 is the better option for you. I do have a different opinion on the maximum captain. But the qualification booster, no matter what you do, I think it's best to use it on match day 4 because you have so many players who could qualify to the next round, more opportunities to get it right and to get those additional points in your starting 11. And the mystery chip. So the current rumor suggests that the mystery chip could protect clean sheets after a team concedes their first goal. If activated, goalkeepers, defenders and midfielders would retain their clean sheet points when conceding once. A second goal conceded would then remove the clean sheet. So I'd consider using this chip between match days 5 to 7. And this would be the sort of overall chip strategy, the windows to use every single booster. The 12th man on either match day 1 or 2. The qualification booster on match day 4. I think the wildcard is probably best deployed between match days 2 to 3. And the mystery chip between match days 5 to 7. And maximum captain between 7 and 8. So when it comes to my current plan, and it's not fully locked in, I think the 12th man will be used on match day 2. If I decide to make a late change, it would be someone like Kai Havertz 12th man right now on match day 1, but I'm quite bullish on wildcarding on match day 3, using the qualification booster in the following round, with a mystery chip on match day 5, and the maximum captain for the World Cup final and the 3rd place playoff. So hopefully that has helped you as well. What I'm going to do is go through some more questions first and foremost, and then I will go through the predicted lineups. But as you can tell, of course, there's a lot of graphics, a lot of things to go through, and there won't be time to recap all of that again, to be quite honest with you. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure why that... yeah. That's a bit of an odd one. Yeah, I think the chat is bugging a little bit on the right, but anyway, that's sorted now. Rafinha or Diaz? To be fair... Oh, yeah, or Luis. It's a close call. I think for the first 2 match days, there's a genuine consideration for Luis Diaz, but I'd probably still go for Rafinha over the course of the group stages. Cheers, Dylan. Thank you for all the awesome World Cup content. Much appreciated, mate. Yeah, the teams are out. I covered them earlier. Rankel is starting, so I think he will go over 5% ownership. I don't think Raya will start. I think it's probably going to be Unai Simon. Well, we saw this last year as well. It's for people who don't make changes to their team. So they've got a vice-captain in place. So if their original captain doesn't play, they can have the points doubled by somebody else. And then their captain and the players who don't feature are subbed off automatically. But you want to be in control of your substitutions. It's kind of like balancing FPL and UCL Fantasy in a way. Difference between Cancelo and Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes is a bit more nailed on. And he probably offers... I think in terms of attacking threat, it's quite close, actually. But in recent matches for Portugal, Nuno Mendes has been better. And he has become one of the best, well, the best left-back in world football. And a very promising fantasy asset as well. Such a stupid thing with the interchangeable captain. I think having one per day is reasonable, but to have like one every couple of hours, basically. And if you order your team in such a way with like a real balance... yeah, you can basically be changing it so often. I mean, everyone has their own opinion about it, but we'll see how it goes. In Matchday 1 last year for the Club World Cup, I actually flopped on Matchday 1 when it came to the captaincy, but I did fairly well in the other rounds. Sometimes we get a bit complacent when it comes to the armband. Is that Pacho Ordóñez? Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's like translating questions automatically. I'm not sure why YouTube are doing that. I'd go for Ordóñez simply because he has less than 5% ownership. Rafinha or Cherki or Doué. I'm not sure if Cherki will start. And to be fair, he's competing with Doué in that French national team. So Rafinha for me. I wouldn't pick a goalie for a 12th man personally, but never say never. There's surely someone out there who will. I think Rochett will start, but it's not a guarantee. I'm not sure about that, Banjo. I don't support England, to be honest. Yeah. I'm not going to vice-captain anyone necessarily, mate. It doesn't matter, because I'll be changing the captaincy regardless, so the vice-captain will be null and void. So, honestly, it just doesn't have any relevance. There is a World Cup Fantasy link in the description, like I said, and there's a code as well on screen and also in that description. I'll see if I can find it quickly here, but yeah, I have made it public on Discord as well, on Twitter, on YouTube. I've posted it everywhere. You can see it now in the live chat again. There is a chance that De Arrascaeta doesn't start. He had a few injury problems recently, and Flamengo are furious with the Uruguayan national team, so that's a situation to monitor. I'm not sure if he's going to be in the lineup. You're going to see that very soon with my updated predictions. Yeah, Ruben Dias is okay, but it's really just a clean sheet, which is fair enough, right? You definitely take that, but he's not going to qualify for the scouting bonus. He's at a good price, as you say. 5 million is pretty decent, but I'm not so sure how to feel about that one. I think he's like an okay World Cup fantasy asset. I'd be more keen with this game compared to FPL, but it's not really saying much. Is Mendes worth it with that niggling injury that he's dealing with? I am quite open to selling him, to be fair. He's not locked in when it comes to my 50-man squad, but yeah, I think Nuno Mendes is still one of the better defenders in the game, but he's not going to qualify for the scouting bonus either. Definitely not. He's a very template pick. So you can find other areas, maybe Gonzalo Inácio in that Portuguese defense. Yeah, time flies. We've got just over an hour to go. Let's be sure to lock things in. I wouldn't leave things to the last minute because I think there could be issues with the game, and we saw that last summer as well. Rafinha's my first player in terms of he's the one who features first. That's why I'm captaining him. I will change it if he doesn't do well. It's as simple as that. I don't think Yamal will start on match day 1, but there is a genuine chance with him training today, so I wouldn't rule him out definitively, but because of the rumours and the news and the injury he's had for a couple of months, I think they'll ease him back in, so that's why he's not going to be in my match day 1 team, to be honest. Yeah, I think Rocha will start, but he's not a guarantee. Even a few years ago, Galindez was rotating a little bit with Dominguez and other Ecuadorian goalkeepers, but he's going to be safe. With Rocha, it's going to be a bit less secure. Yeah, Turkey have some good assets on paper, but it's quite a balanced group, and we have hyped Turkey before in Euro 2021, and they flopped miserably, so we'll see how they get on this time round, but I'm on board about Yildiz, and especially Arda Güler. He's my favourite Turkey fantasy asset. I'd go for Laporte and Ordóñez. Sabitzer scouting bonus, or James or Enzo, 2 of them. And how Sane as 12th man this week. That's certainly different. I'd personally favour Havertz and Oyarzabal and Haaland for the 12th man this week, and maybe even a Harry Kane on match day 2, Mbappe as well, depending on who you've got already. But yeah, I think a German attacker against Curaçao as your 12th man makes a lot of sense. I'm just not sure if it'd be Leroy Sané for me. If James is over the threshold and he's no longer a scouting bonus differential, I'd probably say Sabitzer, actually. I'm going to stick to your chip strategy, but 12th man Haaland seems better, isn't it? Haaland 12th man. Yeah, I get that. I think that makes sense. Yeah, to kind of like make it simple. So, would I rather 12th man Haaland now or 12th man Mbappe next week? Probably Haaland now, to be fair. But it is a close call. And remember, you can't you can't captain your 12th man. So, whilst you're gaining a very good player on that chip, you're also losing a captaincy opportunity. You can change your captain as many times as you want, mate. So, after this game between Mexico and South Africa, you can change it for the next match and then do it for the next game afterwards, as long as there aren't delays and then it overlaps, then you're good to go. It's all covered in my World Cup fantasy videos. I'm going to have a look very soon. But yeah, I think that's going to be a key debate with a lot of these players rising. So, Rangel, this might need a refresh, to be fair. Let's see if it has gone up. It's still 4.9, according to the game. So that's interesting. Okay, so apparently Rangel is still 4.9% owned. But then the same is probably said about Mojica, who is 4.8 now. He's gone down. Laporte is 4.9. Oh, that's going to be a close one. James Rodriguez is 4.9. Oh, just stay there. Because I'm quite happy with this team. Nuno Mendes is the one I'm not too sure about, if I'm being honest with you, and Rochet. Those are the 2 that I'm looking at, and I'm quite open to selling. So, yeah, that could be a possible change for me. So, if we look at O'Reilly, for example, 12% ownership, yeah, I'm not going to go for him. Konsa could be your differential route into the England defence. Only 1% owned. I think he'll start. Reece James is also another possible scouting bonus differential. And I'm looking at some Argentina defenders like Tagliafico. That could be quite promising. 1.3% owned. Yeah, that's not too shabby. Not shabby at all. Then it leaves me with, 6.3 million in the bank. I can buy any goalkeeper I want, essentially. But, yeah. Galindez would be my favourite. But unfortunately, yeah, we all know what's happening there. 4.9% owned. That's going to be a close one. But then having Ordóñez and Galíndez, I don't mind against Curaçao, to be fair. But against Ivory Coast, and I've got double ups in Colombia and Ecuador like this, I'm not entirely sure. But if I wanted to get rid of that sort of Roche headache, I could go for this alternative with Oliveira or Varela in that defense. And I've got 1.7 million in the bank. So I could even do Elise in for Rafinha. Yeah, I could even do McTominay up to Musiala if I wanted. That could work fairly well. But I think having money in the bank isn't a bad idea, because then on match day 2, I could even bring in Harry Kane, but honestly, he'll be my 12th man if I don't use it now. So there's a lot of questions to ask here. I'm going to put a poll out about the 12th man. So let's see what you lot think. So let's do Haaland, match day 1. Let's just do match day 1 or 2. We'll do that first and foremost, and then we'll go into names and specifics. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, and yeah, we've still got plenty of people in the building. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Mauro, thank you very much for the super chat. Diaz and Havertz or Musiala and Suarez? Diaz and Havertz for me, but Suarez is very underrated. I actually like that pick if you are aiming for a budget forward. He has scored a hat-trick for Colombia as well in the World Cup qualifiers against Venezuela, so he can definitely find the back of the net. And he's got 2.5% ownership, so I'm very tempted to say that, but yeah, I think it's still going to be the more template option for me. Havertz and Diaz, I think that is a very good combination, and technically it isn't template, it's just not scouting bonus worthy, but good question there. Very close call. I would go for the first two. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now is show you the predicted lineups. So obviously Mexico, I only got one wrong in the end, and that was with their goalkeeper, well, the right back, I should say. Originally I went for Reyes, but I had a few question marks about that one. In the end, Reyes does start, and this was the South Africa predicted 11, but we can focus on the other ones that we're not going to get access to before the deadline. So South Korea, Seung-gu, Lee, so the two centre-backs, Lee, Kastrup, Seol, Lee in the midfield with Kim In-jae as well, so it could be a back three here for South Korea. In Byum, Hwang Hee-chang, Kang In-lee, and Heung-min Son. I think Kang In-lee could be quite underrated for Group A. And with Czechia, Kovar, Krejci, Hranak, Chalupek, Sufal, Zeleny, Thomas Soucek, Derrida, Sulk, Provod, and Patrick Schick, who is my favourite Czechia option. And for Canada, their goalkeeper Crepo could go over the 5% ownership figure, so that means he wouldn't qualify for the scouting bonus, which might end up being a banned term, by the way, very soon. Laria, Cornelius, and Figueroles, Johnston, Kone, Eustachio, Miller, Buchanan, Larin, and Jonathan David, who is one of their best goal scorers, and he has definitely found a lot of goals over the past couple of years. The same goes for Žeko, who has 73 for the Bosnian national team, and I think they'll go for Vaslic, Katic, Maharamovic, Kalasinac, Dedic, Taharovic, Basic, Alibegovic, Badratagovic, Demirovic, and then Žeko, which is an easier name to pronounce, that's for sure. So, moving on to Qatar here, I think they'll go for Abunad, Kuki, Miguel, Ui, Al-Amin, Lay, Fatih, Abdusalim, Abdulrasaq, Akram Afif, and Junior. I think Akram Afif is their best option as well. But with Switzerland, my favourite is at left back with Ricardo Rodriguez, who isn't a guaranteed starter, but he has been around for a while, since the 2014 World Cup, just like Freuler and Granit Xhaka. I think Kobel, Elvedi, Akanji, and Widmer will start with Abisha. Those two midfielders I mentioned, Ndoye, Vargas, and Mbolo. Bear in mind that Vargas is a midfielder, whilst Ndoye is classified as a forward, and Mbolo can certainly step up in the international tournaments. Moving on to Brazil, I've gone for Alexandra at left-back this time round, but Douglas Santos has been in good form in recent friendlies. Alisson, Marquinhos, Gabriel, Danilo should start with Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro, Rafinha, Lucas Paqueta, Vinicius Jr., and I think Cunha up front. Next up is Morocco, so Bono, Hakimi, Diop, Chadi Riyad, and I think Mazraoui won't play. I think he's going to miss Matchday 1 against Brazil, but he could make it for the other group stage matches. Bouadi and Elanui in the midfield with Brahim Diaz, Ouani, and also Eslozawi. Yeah, just forget about that. But the left winger, I think there's actually an easier way to say his name, but forget about it. And I think Saibari will be up front, who is technically an attacking midfielder by trade. So we're now on to Haiti with Placid, Delcroix, Adi, Acros, Experience, Providence, Jax, Bellegarde, Deedson, Nazon, and Isidore, who has 3 goal contributions in 4 matches for them. And with Scotland, the 2 big doubts are up front and in goal. I think Gunn and Shankland will take them. Well, I think they will enter the starting 11 against Haiti with Robertson, McKenna, Hendry, Aaron Hickey, Ferguson, Ryan Christie, McTominay, Doak, McGinn, and Shankland as well. So if USA, I don't think Turner will start in goal anymore. I think it's going to be Fries with Freeman, Richards, and Ream. Serginho Dest and Robinson as the wingbacks, Tillman and Adams, Pulisic, McKennie, and Balogun. So Paraguay, Fernandez, Alderete, Gomez, Cáceres, Alonso, Bobodia, Kaku, Cubas, Gomez, Sanabria, and Almiron. And for Australia, Ryan, Burgess, Cersati, Boss, Italiano, Suter, O'Neill, Irvine, Irankunda, who's my favourite option from the Australians, Toure, and Metcalfe. Turkey have a very impressive squad, especially in the attack, but I think Uğurcan Çakır, who did quite well in the Champions League last season, he'll be in goal with Çelik, Kabak, Bardakci, Kadioglu, Yüksek, Kalinoglu, not Burak Yilmaz, I should just say Yilmaz, Arda Güler, Yildiz, and Kerem Aktürkoğlu. We're now on to Germany with Neuer, Kimmich, Tah, Schlotterbeck, and I think Brown will start, but it isn't guaranteed, with Nemecha and Pavlovic in the midfield, Sane, who has 2% ownership right now, he could be quite interesting, Musiala, Florian Wirtz, and Kai Havertz. Curaçao will likely go for Rum, Florinus, Obispo, Buzzer, Bijima, Sambo, Chong, Comanensia, and the 2 Bakunas, and my favourite is on the left-hand side, and Locadia would be the striker. We also have Ivory Coast with Fofana, Doué, Kosunu, Diomande, Conan, Sangari, Kessié, and the other midfielder spot is up for grabs, but I've gone for the other Fofana there, Amad Diallo, Diomande, and Guessand. For Ecuador, Galindez will start, and I think the back 4 will be Ordóñez, Bacho, Hincapié, and Estupiñán, but a possibility is for Franco to be the right back, and that pushes Ordóñez in central defence with Bacho leaving Hincapié as the left back. Caicedo is nursing an injury, but I think he will start, and originally he was supposed to be suspended for Matchday 1, just like Cristiano Ronaldo, but they have made changes to the rules. I think we all know why. So Yeboah, Vite, Angulo, and Ena Valencia, who has 6 goals in 6 World Cup matches, a great record there for Ecuador. And with the Netherlands, it's between Flecken and Verbruggen, and it all depends on the fitness. If Verbruggen is fit, he will start. Dumfries, Van Heck, Van Dijk, Van der Ven, Gravenberch, De Jong, and Reinders. I've gone for Somerville on the right, Marlin up front, and Gakpo on the left. So I have made a few changes to the predicted lineup video from yesterday. Depay might be on the bench. For Japan, Suzuki, Taniguchi, Watanabe, Ito, Endo, Sano, Nakamura, Doan, Kubo, another Ito, and Ueda. So Yeah, sorry about that. Look, fairly soon, but yeah, that is a bit frustrating. Yeah, with Japan, I think there is a chance that Kamada starts in central midfield, so keep an eye out for that situation. With Sweden, I think Nordfeldt, Lagerberg, Heen, Lindelof, Ayari, Karlstrom, Gudmundsson, Svensson, Nygren, with Gyökeres and Isak, that should be the starting 11. And Svensson was quite exciting in Club World Cup Fantasy last summer. For Tunisia, Chamak, Rekik, Talbi, Valeri, Abdi, Shriki, Miebri, and Khedira, who is the brother of Sami Khedira, Achuri, Chuat, and Gabi. So we've only got a few left. I say a few left. I'll whiz through them. Courtois, Meunier, Ngoy, Feet, De Kuiper, Anana, Tielemans, Trossard, De Bruyne, Doku, and Deketelare. I think he could start over Lukaku. For Egypt, Schubert, Fati, Ibrahim, Hani, and Fatu, Atia, Ashur, and Lachine, Salah, Marmoush, and Trezeguet. For Iran, I think it'll be Berenevand, Khalized, Nemati, Mohammadi, Hardani, Godos, Esloahi, Taremi, Mehebi, and Golazedid. I'm not sure about the striker. I disagree with this predicted lineup, by the way. I think it'll be Taremi up front. For New Zealand, Paulson, Boxall, Sermon, Payne, and Kakesh, Stamenic, Bell, Singh, Randall, Just, and Chris Wood. For Spain, this will be a very popular one. I think Unai Simon will start over David Raya, with Llorente, Gulbarsi, Laporte, Cucurella, Rodri, Pedri, Fabian Ruiz, Ferran Torres, Alex Baena, and Oyarzabal. So I have made a few modifications there with Nico Williams on the bench. For Cape Verde, Vozinha, Dini, I nearly said Disney, Costa, Cabral, Paulo, Pina, Semedo, Monteiro, Semedo, Mendes, and Livramento. For Saudi Arabia, I think Al Dawsari on the left wing is my favourite option overall. He'd be the one I'd highlight in this group, but mainly for Matchday 3 against Cape Verde. And for Uruguay, a lot of people have said Muslera's going to start, and you might be right, but I've gone for Rochet here, and I might just play it safe and end up just offloading him from my World Cup Fantasy team. Varela, Cáceres, Jimenez, Oliveira. It looks like Araujo is out for Matchday 1. Ugarte, Valverde, Bentancur, Canobio, Araujo, and Nunez. So there is a chance that De Escaeta doesn't start against Saudi Arabia. For France, Magnan, Koundé, Saliba, Upamecano, Theo Hernandez, Tchouameni, Rabiot, Dembele, Elise, Doué, and Mbappe. And for Senegal, Mendy, Diatta, Koulibaly, Niakite, Diouf, Idrissa Gana Gueye, and Papi Gueye. I've gone for Ndiaye on the right this time over Ismaila Sarr, Diarra, Mane, and Nicholas Jackson, who was sent off against Saudi Arabia in a goalless draw. And Iraq got a very impressive 1-1 draw against Spain only a couple of days ago. And with Norway, well, kind of the usual suspects. I think their starting 11 is quite nailed on at the moment. Nusa was very impressive in World Cup qualifying. Odegaard was incredible, but Erling Haaland is the goal machine with 55 in 50 matches. With Argentina, the reigning World Cup champions, Emi Martinez, Molina, Romero, Otamendi, Tagliafico. So I have put Lisandro Martinez on the bench. Enzo Fernandez, De Paul, McAllister, Messi, Almada as a mega differential, and Alvarez up front. You can also see the Algeria national team here with Mahrez on the right. And with Austria, Schlager, Posch, Lionheart, Alaba, Leimer, Seewald, Schlager, Schmidt, Gregoric, Sabitzer, and Arnautovic. I think Sabitzer is the best of the lot. And for Jordan, my favourite option would be up front in Olwan. I wouldn't consider anybody else. And for Portugal, we will likely see Diogo Costa, João Cancelo, Ruben Dias, Gonzalo Inacio, Nuno Mendes, Vitinha, João Neves, Pedro Neto, Bruno Fernandes, and it's a toss-up between João Felix and Rafael Leao. I have gone for the latter, and Cristiano Ronaldo up front. This is Congo's team, and this is probably the pick of the bunch here. And for Uzbekistan, a lot of you will be familiar with Kusanov, but I wouldn't recommend anybody from a fantasy perspective. But for Colombia, I think they've got plenty of options here, like Vargas, who still qualifies for the scouting bonus, Mojica left back, and even Sanchez could be alternative there if necessary. You've also got Lucimi, Munoz, Rios, Lerma, Arias, Diaz, Rodriguez, and Suarez, another differential. And Rodriguez is currently at 4.9% ownership. The final group is L with England. Pickford, James, Concert, Gay, O'Reilly. Declan Rice scored yesterday, just like Anthony Gordon, who's on the left side. I've gone for him over Rashford this time. He had a great performance overall. Elliot Anderson, who is linked with Man City. Saka, Rodgers, and the goal-scoring machine, that is Harry Kane. With Croatia, I've changed the formation to a 4-2-3-1, so Livakovic, Stanisic, Sutalo, Vuskovic, Gvardiol, Modric, Kovacic, Baturina, Kramaric, Perisic, and Budimir. That is my predicted 11 against England. And for Ghana, this is the updated version. You can ignore what I said yesterday when it comes to their starting 11. This would be much more accurate, that's for sure, with Thomas Asante potentially starting up front. And for Panama, you can see their 11 here as well. So that was quite extensive as well. Drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start making some very late moves and also answering your questions in the meantime. So yeah, just just have a few cable issues, but should be good to go very soon. Yeah, well, maybe I can figure out that one. But yeah, let me know if there are any issues with the chat or the audio. That would be much appreciated. Hopefully that isn't the case. But yeah, I'm going to go for some more questions now. We've still got a bit of time, 40 minutes left until we wrap up. Matchday 2 is winning the poll. That's interesting. I thought Matchday 1 would be the more popular pick when it comes to the 12th man. So that's very interesting. Hopefully I've just sorted it now. Apologies for that. So, let's go to the transfer section and monitor. No, it's not even... Yeah, that's very strange. Yeah, let's get through the questions then. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Hopefully I can actually change scenes as well. Let's see if this works. Oh, now it's deciding to work. Bloody bastard. All right, here's the link. Yeah, this is definitely worth having a look at. So, that could be a very important tool when it comes to tracking the ownership figures. Yeah, Kang In Lee should start. Havertz minute of rotation or reduced minutes. I don't think he'll start like... Well, I should say he's not going to get 90 minutes every game, but I still think he'll be the main number 9 there for Germany. He's got a good record for them as well, but I think against Curaçao, the ceiling is very high, and it makes a lot of sense to go for him. I think my current plan is just to go for Harry Kane on Matchday 2. The thing with that, though, is I could also want Harry Kane for Matchday 3 against Panama, and he has scored against them in the World Cup before, so that's going to be, well, an interesting one for sure. So let's go back here. Captaincy is very simple. You just captain the player who features next. In my case, it's Rafinha with my current 15-man squad. If he blanks, I just go for the next player who plays. It's as simple as that. I will focus on easy Matchday 1 fixtures and use the wildcard for 2. Yes, a sound strategy. I'm not completely against it, but I think a lot of teams who have a good fixture on Matchday 1 also have a good fixture on Matchday 2. So my preference is using it for the final Matchday, where you can also navigate rotation a little bit better. There's not really any such thing as best captain. The likes of Haaland against Iraq is really good. Obviously, Havertz against Curaçao, Oyarzabal. Mbappe is always good, even against Senegal, but it's not just about who's the best captain and then pick one. Just go for the plays first, and that's it. I just covered that a few minutes ago. Galindez has gone down. I'm happy about that. Rangel still 4.9%. I'm surprised. I really am. Thank you, Ahmed, for being a member for 20 months. What a ride this is going to be. Thanks, legend. Yeah, not long left, to be fair. We've got like 40 minutes, but it's looking decent. Yo, Dylan, hope you're well. Who do you think will stay below 5% ownership? I hope it's Galindez, and I might end up going for him. But yeah, I'm not so sure. It's very difficult to tell because based on what I was hearing a few hours ago, I was convinced that James Rodriguez and Laporte would definitely be above 5%, but now they've gone below that again. So it's going to be a very close call for some of these picks. So can you captain a player after previously vice-captaining him? Yes, as long as they haven't played yet, you can still do that. You just have to put someone else as your vice-captain, someone who plays later on in the match day. So that's the only thing. If, for example, you have one captaincy option remaining, let's say, and he was your vice-captain, then yeah, you're out of luck. Basically, you need somebody else to play after him in order to change. Hopefully that makes sense. James, Rangel, Laporte, all past 5%. Okay, yeah. Speak of the devil. That's not good. Not good at all. That probably requires a few changes, to say the least. So yeah, these were the two teams I sort of came up with, and I talked about them in my team selection, but it's time to make some modifications then. I'm going to refresh this just in case. But it looks like Laporte is, yeah, 5% owned. Bloody hell. Yeah, it's literally the worst case scenario. I mean, look, they're still good picks, but obviously a big reason why they're here is because of scouting bonus. So, yeah, I think there could still be a few changes before the deadline. I mentioned Leroy Sané earlier. He's not my favourite German attacker, but a differential way into it, 2% ownership. I'm not completely against it. Lock in. Yeah, good suggestion. I would try to lock in as soon as possible, but I think the scouting bonus makes it difficult. Mojica or Elvedi? Probably Mojica, if he stays below 5%. Dylan, do you know if making predictions, do we have to do all match day 1 or before each kickoff? I think we have to do all of match day 1. If you're talking about the bracket, that is. Yeah. I don't think there is a game for... I'll have a look. I don't think there is one for like predict 6 or predictions as we see in the Champions League. Yeah. I did say earlier, by the way, I would revisit those predictions. I'm probably going to do that after the deadline passes, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, now it's all about fantasy. Let's lock in our squads over the next 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah, I had a feeling that's some of these players were going to go above 5% again. Vargas is 4.5. He's kind of flirting with it. Rocha is 4.2. He should be safe. He might not even start, to be fair, though. That's the problem. Elindes is 4.8. That's not bad. I definitely like this defensive double up for match day 2. Mojica is still 4.8. I can always move him onto Davinson Sanchez, but obviously he's a bit more expensive. But yeah, I think it's maybe time to make a few changes. I just hope Laporte somehow goes to below 5%. And if we go to that website again, yeah, Rangel has gone above 5%. He no longer qualifies for the scouting bonus. The same goes for Laporte and James Rodriguez. So yeah, a lot of things are happening right now. Crepa, though, still 4.9. Samus has gone up a little bit, but 4.1. He should be safe. He could be my James Rodriguez replacement, to be quite honest with you. So there you go. All right. It might be time to make a few changes here. So I'm quite happy with the front three. There's no real need to change it. There's an argument for Havertz, and that gives me more money. Yada, yada, yada. But Mbappe is still a great option to have here. Okay, so Rafinha, Wirtz, Bruno Fernandes, Rodriguez. McTominay, I'm quite happy with it, but I might sell Rodriguez to Sabitzer. This one isn't too bad. The problem I'm having is actually with the defenders and goalkeepers. So Vargas and Mojica, they can stay if they remain under 5%. Laporte, though, and Nuno Mendes, just not really feeling it. And then having Galindez and Ordóñez. I've got a few reservations about that. So one player I might go for is Tagliafico from Argentina. Very low ownership and good fixtures throughout the group stages. Although, the best fixture is on Matchday 3, which is where I can wildcard the likes of Tagliafico in, or whoever's likely to start by that stage. And Austria might be quite tough, I think, for Matchday 2. But that could be my alternative. A cheap option as well. And that could go for Gonzalo Inácio from Portugal. I think he will start. Not a guarantee, though. There are a few risks. That defensive line looks a little bit weak and threadbare. Kimmich being the only premium defender. So that's where a few other changes could be made. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go for a few more questions. Let's see what people are saying. You got Rodgers over Bellingham? Yeah, that isn't fully locked in, to be fair. There is a chance that Bellingham starts for England, but I would lean towards Rodgers right now. I was at the match yesterday and Bellingham was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, he's a big game player as well, and it's kind of awkward or mad to see him bench potentially, but there you go. Maybe I'm wrong about the Rodgers one. A spicy stream, things are going okay, no problems, Gringo. Laporte, James, Rankel, all over 5%. I don't think Kripo will, but that's famous last words. I was getting gassed about Rodriguez and Laporte a few minutes ago. It's the FIFA app. Very simple stuff, and you go to the play zone. Sanchez still very low. Yeah, he is. So that's going to be a clear alternative. Llorente is 4.7. The problem with that, though, is... yeah, I think there could be rotation for Spain in their fullback areas in particular. I think the likes of Border and Grimaldo could get a start during the group stages. Richard says best Spain and Portugal combo. 1, Costa and Cucurella, or 2, Simon and Diaz. I'd rather go for Costa and Cucurella. They're a bit safer because there is a chance that Raya starts, even though I think it will be Unai Simon. But yeah, Costa's definitely first choice for Portugal. No doubt about that one. Is that James de Decathlare? Well, sorry to burst your bubble. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good shout. I mean, the thing is, there's still a chance that Lukaku starts. That's my only issue. So I almost burst the bubble, but I think Decathlare will start now. Why not Gubarsi? Because he has over 5% ownership. And to be fair, so does Laporte. But yeah, we'll wait and see. There is a chance that Laporte goes back down, but not with Gubarsi. Enzo for Leao. If Leao starts in the first 2 match days, that looks pretty promising, but not necessarily locked in. Yeah, I probably would take a punt on that. Thanks to the moderators as well for keeping things moving. But yeah, spamming won't be tolerated. I'm just saying that. Gonna go for different questions and cover as many people as possible. Drop a like on the stream if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel. We are hitting new goals like 40k, which I'm very much looking forward to. So yeah, much appreciated. I thank you all for the support throughout the World Cup fantasy streams and videos. And there are more to come. Let's get the stream to over 300 likes. And we are close to 1,000 concurrent viewers. Thank you, Weiseng, for sorting that out. Gonzalo Inácio will be on the bench. Renato Veiga will start for Portugal. Yeah, I mean, that's one reason why Gonzalo Inácio was a little bit of an iffy pick for me. There is a chance that happens. I don't think he's guaranteed. Yeah, don't go for Inácio. I think Veiga will probably start. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's quite difficult to predict all 48 nations, to be fair. But Inácio is definitely not nailed on. So I agree from that perspective. Yeah, Brown will start in my opinion, but not a guarantee either. War from Norway, decent. That works against Iraq, and it's not a bad fixture against Senegal, but I think Norway will concede there. Yeah, Guns, okay. I think a clean sheet against Haiti is possible, but I don't like them for matchday 2 or 3. Valencia over Oyarzabal. I've heard worse, but I prefer Oyarzabal. Molina has a bit more going forwards, that's true. But I also think, at least this was definitely the case in the last World Cup, Tagliafico has less risk of rotation. Yeah, they are pretty much first choice, though, on either flank. But if you want a bit more going forwards, I'd probably say Molina. De Kuyper and Theo differential. Yeah, once again, De Kuyper, another rotation risk. But yeah, Theo Hernandez should start, and he's actually cheaper than his brother. I'm not sure what's happening there. Xhaka as a World Cup fantasy option. I mean, for every 3 tackles, you get a point. Every 2 chances created as well. I mean, that's not too bad. But, yeah, I think for Switzerland, you're looking at Ricardo Rodriguez and Mbola. Yeah, Ricardo, to be honest with you, I'd probably say De Ketelaere. But he is a bit riskier. I don't think I'm going to 12th man now. It's probably going to be matchday 2. Doku, solid pick. Not amazing, but I think Doku is still a reasonable option. I think Belgium have a few enticing assets like De Bruyne, Courtois in goal, maybe De Kuyper if he starts, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that one. I've got a question. Does 5% get the bonus as well? Well, according to the rules and all of that, it has to be below 5%. What I referenced, though, earlier was Club World Cup Fantasy last summer. Same developers, same game, I believe. And essentially, I had a player who had 5% ownership. And by the way, just for those that are unaware, it has to be ownership before the deadline locks in. It doesn't matter what the ownership is after. It's about what it is beforehand. But I had a player who had 5% ownership in Andrea Cambiaso from Juventus. And he still qualified for the scouting bonus. So that would contradict what I just said. But to be on the safe side and what the rules specifically say, it has to be below 5%. Look, Brown is fine, but he's a rotation risk. If you want to go there, be my guest. But I think David Raum could start 1 game in the group stages, maybe even 2. Well, Declan Rice scored yesterday, but that was his 7th goal for England. And Anderson doesn't really give you too much apart from tackles. Rice is good for set pieces. He might get the odd chance created point, but not that many. But overall, I'd be more keen on Rice if possible. I think Roche is going to start, but there are doubts about that. There really are. Munoz is an option, but I prefer the other Colombian defenders because of the lower ownership, which means they qualify for the scouting bonus, which gives you 2 additional points if your player gets 4 points or more. So all you need from your goalkeeper or defender is a clean sheet, and you can get 9 points. Oliveira, low-owned and good fixtures, carries some attacking threat. Yeah, not too much attacking threat, but he offers something. You're right about that. That is my differential way of covering the Uruguay defense alongside Varela. I think both of those fullbacks, though, get a lot of yellow cards. That's my only concern. The captaincy rule is different to UCL Fantasy because in the Champions League, it's 1 captain per day. With World Cup Fantasy, you can change it several times within the same day. So you can captain a Mexican player now, then you can captain a South Korean or Czech Republican player tomorrow in the early hours of the morning. 12th man from your 50-man squad, or is it a 16th player? The 12th man can't be someone in your 50-man squad, and you can't captain that player, substitute them, or transfer them out. It was all covered earlier today and also in my videos, so check them out and you'll see all the details on how World Cup Fantasy works. But yeah, the 12th player is just separate. And for example, in my team, what I'm probably going to be looking at here is a Havertz. I can't 12th man Haaland or Mbappe because they're in my team already. Valverde is not a terrible option, but I think from Uruguay, well, Pierre Escaeta would be my favourite if he started, but there are concerns about his fitness. Yeah, with Valverde, I'm not too sure about his goal-scoring potential, if you will, and creativity. Nuno Mendes, Roche, De Ketelaere. I mean, what about them? Nuno Mendes, I think they'll all start, but it's not a guarantee. Once again, with all of these players, it's quite difficult to foresee what's going to happen on matchday 3. A lot depends on the results and fitness of these options as well. But I think Roche and De Ketelaere will start for what it's worth. I'm not absolutely convinced. It's more like 60-40, especially in the case of the Belgian striker, who's classified as a mid in this game. But I think they all start. if you rewind the stream, by the way, you're going to see my predicted lineups, and there's also the video from yesterday. Musiala or Haaland 12th man? Haaland. Why Vargas over Martinez? There's a chance that Emi Martinez doesn't start. He's got that thumb injury from the Europa League final, and he hasn't started any game recently. Everyone put Mbappe, says N. Mendes. Well, Mbappe is one of the best options for sure. But against Senegal and Norway, you could argue his prospects aren't as high. But against Iraq, he's arguably the best captaincy option on matchday too. What if a goalkeeper gets under 5%, not a clean sheet? Well, yeah, like I said, the player has to get 4 points or more. Otherwise, they don't qualify for the scouting bonus. It's not just any player who has less than 5% ownership. Otherwise, well, that'd be a different story. Yeah, no Turkey players. I don't think I'll end up getting one. The most likely would be Yildiz or Arda Güler. Nobody else for me. I was thinking about Saliba in one of my early drafts, but no. He's also got an injury problem. I think he'll start every game in the World Cup, but he could have surgery afterwards. And yeah, I think France, besides matchday 2 against Iraq, I think they could concede against Senegal and Norway. Thoughts on Olmo, Pedri and Fermin Lopez? I think only Pedri starts. The other two will get minutes off the bench. Maybe one start during the league phase or the group stages, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be. I'd probably avoid most Spanish attackers except for Oyarzabal. McTominay or James Rodriguez? If James drops to below 5%, I'm going to go for him. Yeah, good to see you as well, Lucky himself. You download the FIFA app. I think Nuno Mendes will play, but to be honest with you, I'm looking at selling him. He's in my current squad, but unfortunately, with the scouting bonus, yeah, it's a bit of a myth right now. So let's see if I can finalize something, or at least be one step closer to proceedings. So yeah, Mojica's fine. So is Vargas. I think Galindez would also be okay. But unfortunately, it's not looking too good for other players like Laporte and James Rodriguez. They're at exactly 5% ownership. So this is where Oliveira could come into play. Maybe Tagliafico as well. Molina's another one. Otamendi, although he's a bit of a rotation risk, I'd say. I just think Tagliafico's the safest Argentina defender here. Yeah, I think Laporte might have to be a sell to a Llorente, who is a bit of a rotation risk, I'd say, but I think Llorente will start. Okay, I just saw something. I'm going to double check it for you. I don't want to spread false information. About Yildiz. He might miss matchday 1. So let's have a look. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but yeah, just want to make sure you have all the information and is correct. I mean, a few weeks ago, there were kind of fears about him missing the World Cup, or at least the first match. But yeah, let me know in the live chat if you have seen anything about Kenan Yildiz. There is a chance he doesn't start on matchday 1. Yeah, Rocha is a rotation risk, I'm well aware. Don't worry about that. I've always said this with Rocha. I mean, with my latest draft video, when I first included him, I also had Courtois. There was a 3-hour window between both goalkeepers and making that substitution. So that already put me off a little bit. But then the fact that Muslera could start, there's a few predicted lineups to have Muslera starting. That isn't really what you want to see. Yeah, Havertz is one of the best forwards for matchday 1. But if you're also considering the other match days, Mbappe is still probably one of the best forwards in the game and above Havertz there. Yeah, Messi, you can never write him off. Great performance the other day against Iceland, and he is timeless, it seems, when it comes to football. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to go for him. I think Algeria and Austria are tough opponents. If Argentina were facing Jordan first, then maybe I would go for Messi. And to be fair, by the time we get to matchday 3, if Messi is in contention to start, I might wildcard him in anyway. Yeah, Gonzalo Inacio, look, I've put him on my predicted lineup, but a few Portuguese viewers in the chat have said otherwise. They think Renato Veiga will start, and I mentioned that as a possibility in yesterday's video, so it's not a secure pick, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd probably go for him. So, James Rodriguez could make way here for Sabitzer. Just to have that scouting bonus differential. But then looking at Matchday 2, that's where Sabitzer faces Argentina. I'd probably want to sell him for that. And I do like James' fixtures for the first 2 match days, so I really hope he drops to below 5% somehow, but I wouldn't guarantee it. And that's why it's worth going to this website. Yeah, this is not really what you want to see. So Bukayo Saka is now a differential. That's good. Odegaard isn't anymore. Rangel isn't. But yeah, these were actually from quite a while ago. I don't think we've seen any other changes. So there are quite a few that are on the brink of either going above the threshold or below. But let's not just think about scouting bonus. I mean, that's literally the main theme of this video, and there is definitely more to World Cup Fantasy than that. So this is the lineup I have currently, without making any changes. I could just go for Rangel, but obviously he doesn't qualify for scouting bonus. So Galindez and Vargas, I'd be quite happy as that sort of goalkeeper pairing there. Kimmich, Oliveira, Mojica, and Tagliafico. That looks good. The midfield, if James is still not going to sort of make it, then if I really want a differential midfielder there, I could go for Sabitzer. And then I've got Oyarzabal, Mbappe, and Haaland up front. But the last defender, I've got 6.9 million to spend, and honestly, there isn't a clear standout. It would have been Laporte for me, but he's at 5% ownership. So there you go. Yeah, just having a look at another Spain predicted lineup, but yeah. Senesi was just selected for the Argentinian national team, by the way. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Llorente. So yeah, I'm either sticking with Laporte or I'm going to go for something a little bit different, but that would be my sort of new defensive line, and 1.4 million in the bank, which isn't too shabby. I could even afford Elise over Rafinha if I wanted to. I think Roche will start. It was covered earlier. Sydney says, I'm set. I think my team is Galindez, Vargas. Yeah, I like that. Nuno Mendes, Kimmich, Cucurella, Ryerson, Mojica, Elise, Rafinha, Bruno Fernandes, Wirtz, James Rodriguez, Mbappe, Oyarzabal, Havertz, and Haaland as my 12th man. Really good squad. Not many complaints from me. And yeah, you're sticking with James, which is fair enough. Makes sense. I still like the first 2 match days for him. Goalkeepers are spot on. That's what I'm looking to go for myself. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. In terms of scouting bonus, you've got Vargas, Galindez, Mojica. And that's about it, it seems, but you don't need to go overboard. So yeah, this has been talked about quite a lot. And if you check out my videos, yeah, it's all explained in a lot of detail. But basically, if you pick a player of less than 5% ownership and they score 4 points or more, they will give you 2 additional points. And for a goalkeeper or defender, by keeping a clean sheet, they will give you 9 points overall. So that is the appeal with the scouting bonus. Ryerson or Reyes? Ryerson. Yeah, it would be Ryerson. So we only have a few minutes left until the deadline. I just saw this message here, which I don't think is true, by the way. Well, like I said, it's because if I go for Galindez over Rochet just to be a bit safe with the goalkeeper, I'm not a big fan of doubling up on the Ecuador defense on matchday 1, which might be a mistake. I think that could be a low-scoring game regardless, and I do like it for the Curaçao fixture, but to have double-ups in the Colombia and Ecuador defense, I'm a bit uneasy about that for matchday 1 anyway. Yeah, Tagliafico's not injured. I'm not sure where you saw that. Nico Bass plays up front. He plays more as a second striker, attacking midfielder, if you will. He is a bit raw. He's got a lot of talent, but there were a few missed opportunities against Iceland with a final ball, but the talent is certainly there. I think Roberto Martinez said, Nuno Mendes played to get fitness, not an injury concern. Yeah, I think Nuno Mendes will start. He's in my predicted lineup as well. Due or KDB? KDB. 12-man Havertz this match day? If I were to play it now, yes. Laporte is 4.9. I don't want to like bait it out, but you know, I've got a duty to report. Hopefully he stays like that if that's the case. Let me just make these changes then. Maybe go for a different defender over Tagliafico, but that could be my squad there. Laporte is 5%, by the way. It looks like he's not 4.9. Just to let you know. Yeah, it's still, yeah, unfortunately 5%. So, if we refresh this, yeah, let's just order the team just in case. So McTominay comes in, and I'll take off Sabitzer, who plays on later in the match day. And yeah, that's pretty much done. Captain Rafinha. And I can vice-captain Haaland. It doesn't matter because ultimately I'll be changing the captaincy anyway. I could just put the vice-captain on the player who's featuring last, which in my starting 11 is Bruno Fernandes. So there you go. Yeah. Maybe not perfect. It's still time to improve. So let's go back to the transfer section and maybe keep an eye out for the ownership figures, because if James Rodriguez goes to below 5%, I'll probably bring him back in for Sabitzer, and I'd be quite happy to have Laporte in my final squad. Okay. So we've got a lot of people watching. I appreciate it. Let's get the stream up to 300 likes and close in on 40,000 subscribers. We're going to make big strides today. Thank you to those that have supported. I think Danilo will start for Brazil, yeah, with the injury to Wesley. I think he's first choice. I don't think Pedro Porro will start. There's a possibility, but I think Llorente will take the nod. Nah, Laporte won't be 10%. It's going to be 5% or 4.9. That's what we're looking at, really. Why are we taking Rafinha? Well, to be fair, I'm open to selling him to Elise. You're right that Morocco could be a tough test, but it's also about match day 2 and 3. And to be fair, with my current strategy, I am looking to wildcard on match day 3 regardless, so I'm not that bullish on Rafinha now, but I want him for the Haiti fixture. That's the one where I think Rafinha could do really well. So that's why he's quite popular at the moment. But if I do go for this structure, with 1.4 in the bank, something else I'm considering is Mbappe to Kane and Rafinha to Elise. I could do something like that. Why not Cucurella? Well, once again, there is a chance Laporte goes to below 5%. And if that's the case, I'd rather go for him. Yeah, agreed. But there's a reason why he has gone above 5%, because people have caught on a little bit. I think Ali Abdi is the best option from Iraq. You know, he's at left back. He's on penalties, 8 goals and 7 assists for his country. So if I had to pick one player from Iraq, it would be him, to be fair. Yeah, we hit 39,000 the other day, and 40k is the next objective. Yeah, Switzerland are quite underrated. I think Elvedi would be a good shout, to be fair. That's a good option to replace Laporte, maybe Tagliafico as well. But yes, a bit of a shame. I mean, I get the appeal of the scouting bonus. I think it's a decent addition. It makes people think a bit outside the box, but unfortunately we sometimes gravitate towards the same people. Yamal might not start. He was in training, but that doesn't mean he's going to start for sure. They need to ease him back in after missing several months due to injury. Who other than Messi will do the job for Argentina? Well, I think it's a team effort, and Scaloni is the mastermind, winning 4 trophies in a row. But from a fantasy perspective, I'd be looking at the defenders like Tagliafico, Molina, Otamendi if he starts, scouting bonus, clean sheets are possible. And Argentina have one of the best defenses in recent years. They're very tough to beat and score against, so I think that's what you're looking at next. Now, the attack is still pretty stacked, maybe not in terms of names like before with Di Maria, Higuain, and Aguero, but Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez, 2 of the best strikers in world football right now. But minutes and rotation is going to be a big issue there. So if I'm being honest, I'd probably say a defender and then Almada as a differential who qualifies for scouting bonus. Yeah, Araujo's out for the first match. Yeah, that's true. And that's why I updated the Uruguay lineup with Cáceres in that Uruguay defense. Tagliafico or Oliveira? Probably Oliveira, simply because of the fixtures. So that means I can't switch to captaincy between Mbappe and Haaland. So let's just go to the captaincy section here. So just to show you, Mbappe plays at 8 p.m. on the 16th of June. Erling Haaland plays at 11 p.m. So the answer is yes, you can actually captain Mbappe and then switch to Haaland, but the window is so short in terms of when you can switch it. And if there's a delay to the France game, then it's going to overlap, and that means you can't change the captaincy or make a substitution there when it comes to those 2 players specifically. So just be very mindful about that. But if all is well and you don't get a bit of bad luck, the answer is yes, you can switch it. Yeah, Banjo, don't worry. I appreciate the concern, but we should be good. Thank you, Sid, as well for the super chat. Does Schlager start for Austria? Yeah, I think he will. He was in my predicted lineup, and everywhere I've seen when I did my research, I saw him starting there. I'd go for I'd go for Wirtz over Musiala, and I've said that in all of my videos as well. I've been very consistent. He's 0.5 million cheaper. I think both of them could haul against Curaçao, and ultimately there's not much separating them, but I prefer Wirtz. Luis Alexander says, Dylan, ¿por qué Rafinha tiene el capitán si el capitán se puede cambiar a diario y tienes jugadores que juegan antes? ¿A qué hora haces el lockout? Bueno, lo más pronto posible, porque es posible que bueno, el website no va a aguantar todo el tráfico y para mí es mejor finalizar tu equipo ahora. Pero sí, con las transferencias que hice ahora, si vemos las fechas, bueno, Rafinha juega primero en el 13 de junio, así que con mi equipo tiene sentido ponerlo como capitán. Pero es posible que voy a hacer algunas modificaciones y quizás Rafinha va a salir para Olise, por ejemplo. Así que no está todo hecho y también estoy esperando para ver si Laporte y James Rodríguez bajan a menos de 5% de ownership para que puedo tenerlo en mi equipo y que clasifiquen para Scouting Bonus. Speaking of which, let's go to that website one more time. I don't think we're going to get a change here. It looks like Laporte and James are sort of firmly locked in at 5% ownership. They're still good options, so I think they're worth including. But I don't think I'll go for Laporte then in that case. So what I'm probably going to do now is bring in a Laporte replacement so we can figure out that one. So Laporte out for Elvedi. Facing Qatar, Bosnia and Canada, not too shabby. The ownership is 4.2%. He should be safe. I think Ricardo Rodriguez is better if he starts, and I think he will. But it is a bit more of a up-in-the-air sort of pick. I think Elvedi will just definitely start. He just gives you that certainty. So I might go for this back line here. And it gives me 2.6 in the bank. So I've got a lot of leeway. I could even bring in Yamal if I wanted, but that's going to be a risky play. Elise in. That looks pretty good. I can then bring in Harry Kane. And then 12th man Mbappe on match day 2. Although that deprives me of arguably the best 12th man, or the best captaincy option, I'd say, for Matchday 2 when he faces Iraq. So interesting times ahead. That's for sure. But yeah, James Rodriguez, unfortunately, I think is going to be 5% owned and above. I don't see that changing, really. But yeah, thank you very much, Luis Alexander. And to all the other super chatters, I'll be gifting 5 memberships now and 5 more very soon. So actually, I'll be gifting them after the deadline has passed. Dylan Endo confirmed out by Fabrizio. In that case, it will be Kamada starting over him. Thank you for the update. Why not Llorente for Laporte? That's an alternative. I'm considering it, but I think Llorente is more at risk of rotation. Yildiz was in my predicted lineup, but I saw someone tell me in the comment section that he's not going to start on match day 1, so be aware of that. I'd probably go for Arda Güler anyway. Get Doan. Not sure about that. Elvedi or Widmer? Probably Elvedi. There's not much in it. 6 under 5%. Love it, says Banjo. That's what I had not so long ago, but unfortunately people have caught on. Yeah, it's time to lock in. I'm not so sure about Dembele on the international stage, to be fair. He's not the main man, but he's still a quality player. He can step up for France. But I'm looking at Mbappe and Elise when it comes to their 11, really. Why not Munoz? Because he's got over 5% ownership. And with Vargas and Mojica, they both will qualify for the scouting bonus. Emi Martinez is an injury doubt. He might not even start against Algeria. I think he will, but I couldn't guarantee it. I think Rocher will play, but there is a chance that Muslera does, and that's why I've been a bit safe and gone for Oliveira to cover the Uruguay defence, with Gelindez and Vargas as my goalkeepers. If Debo is fit, then yes, I think he is a good option, but he hasn't played any recent friendly for Argentina. His last match was for Aston Villa in the Europa League final against Freiburg. 8 players below 5% ownership should be enough. It's more than enough, and it's more important that you're happy with those players. Yeah, Varela should start for Uruguay. It was covered earlier in the predicted lineup section. Yeah, Posh could be decent, to be fair. I think most of us will gravitate towards Elvedi. Posh could be okay. I'm quite open to all of them when it comes to the Austria and Switzerland defences. The thing with Austria, though, is they're facing Argentina on match day 2, so Sabitzer the only one I'd really want. But yeah, Posh did get an assist against Tunisia in that 1-0 win recently, and Sabitzer scored in 3 consecutive games for his country. So we are very close to locking in. So yeah, it's time to iron out the details. I think with Sabitzer, I will replace him with Rodriguez again and just stick with the 5% own player and just kind of hope that what happened last year in the Club World Cup happens again. But based on the rules, he won't qualify for the scouting bonus, just to be very clear. And I think the rest looks pretty decent. I've got money in the bank as well. Elise Rafinha is a bit of a tough one, but with Rafinha facing Haiti on match day 2, and I know Elise's got Iraq, I'd probably favour Rafinha there. So that would give me 2.9 in the bank, and that's where a Llorente could also come into play. I think I'll take a punt on Llorente, which is probably famous last words. I hope he starts against Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, but it isn't a guarantee. And I've still got a lot of money in the bank as well. James could even become a more expensive midfielder, but I'm probably going to stick with something like this, and it gives me wiggle room to even bring in Harry Kane for Oyarzabal or just make other transfers as well. So that's not too bad. So we've got less than 2 minutes left. Lock in your teams now. Don't do what I'm doing. You want to have things done as soon as possible. Okay, so I think I'll stick with this. I just don't see Laporte going down again. And in terms of the dates as well, Llorente would feature first compared to Bruno Fernandes, for example, so I can take him out. And I can vice captain, I guess, Haaland for now, doesn't matter. But I'm going to have a quick look now at that website. And yeah, unfortunately, Laporte and all these players, it still looks like they're not going to go down as expected. So Mojica 4.8, James Rodriguez has 5% ownership, and we've only got a few seconds left until the deadline. So make sure to lock in. Yeah, unfortunately, Laporte and James Rodriguez at exactly 5%. That is probably the worst case scenario. So close to greatness, you could say. But yeah, I'm going to go for Llorente, and I think there's a genuine chance that Porro starts over him. So there you go. A bit of late drama. I mean, I just love doing late drama, I guess, on this channel. But that is how things are looking like at the moment. So we are locked in, and we have kickoff between Mexico and South Africa. Last second again, Dylan Unota. Yeah, it's just the 5% stuff. If it wasn't for that, I would have been quite happy to have Laporte and James Rodriguez, and then I think things would have been quite locked in for the most part. You captain the player who plays first. Exactly that. It's very simple stuff. Then you switch it to the player who features next, as long as they haven't played yet. I covered Sane earlier. Not my favourite German attacker, but a differential route into that attack for sure. You can change the captaincy between players on the same day in Club World Cup Fantasy and the World Cup. The difference is with the Champions League. It's a different game, different developers, so that's why it will be different here. I already locked the team an hour ago. I just kept Rangel in. Fair enough. He does have over 5% ownership, but there you go. Don't you think the 12th man for Mbappe will feel like you are missing out when everyone will captain him? Well, I've got Mbappe now, so I'm not really too bothered, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy with having Mbappe. For Matchday 2, I'll probably go for Harry Kane against Ghana. That's my current plan for the 12th man. I might regret not going for Havertz this week, but only time will tell. But yeah, I think for those without Mbappe, who can't captain him on Matchday 2, it might be a different story. Apparently, we're still not locked. I'll have a look. I'm not sure if I'll make a transfer to test that, but thanks for bringing that to my attention. I mean, last year we had a deadline that locked in very early. This is a bit different this time round, but yeah, last year was a disaster with the Club World Cup. At least for Matchday 1. They did fix up afterwards, but we're asking for the very basics here when we're talking about a simple deadline. Let's see. Have another look at the scouting bonus. No. Oh, back soon. Yeah, so that's updating. Laporte, 5% ownership. We all know that. I'll have another tab open just in case. Oh, I think, to be fair, if you're saying the deadline isn't locked in, it should be. I think it should be locked in, regardless. No, it does say unlimited transfers. That's odd. Maybe you're onto something. If it said 2 transfers, then it would have been for Matchday 2 already. But it doesn't look like that's the case. Yeah, Laporte, 5% ownership. Imagine he actually qualifies for the scouting bonus. I might end up regretting not going for him. But yeah, time will tell. We'll have full clarity on that very soon. But obviously, I covered the Club World Cup last summer with very similar game mechanics, and that's what we ended up having in the end. And that's why I've gone for Llorente, who wasn't really my cup of tea, if I'm being completely frank. So yeah, in terms of scouting bonus, I've got Galindez, Vargas, Oliveira, Elvedi, and Llorente, Mojica. That's 6 players, not too bad. James probably won't count, but there you go. He's in my squad anyway. And I've got a triple up in Colombia. But yeah, let's go to the questions. And I'm going to gift 10 memberships now. Drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for all the support. Yeah, the game hasn't started yet, to be fair, that is true. I'm going to try and get the game up, but I've had issues with my TV. Yeah, I'm guessing it just locks in when the game actually kicks off. Good luck, guys. Really stressful deadline with the scouting bonus. Yeah, that was the main talking point, unfortunately. This could be a recurring theme throughout the tournament, really. Today's score? 2-2. I think Mexico will win. Either 2 or 3-1 Mexico. You know what? What I might end up doing is going through my predictions whilst we wait. So let's refresh this and go to the knockouts. Is that even logged in or not? I made my predictions. Anyway, Germany and Paraguay. I'm going to go for Germany, France, Sweden, France, Korea Republic versus Canada. I'm going to go for Korea. Netherlands, Morocco. I'm going to go for the Netherlands. Colombia, Croatia. Colombia. Spain, Austria. Spain. But Austria are a good side. Turkey, Bosnia. Turkey. Belgium, Czech Republic. Maybe there's going to be more surprises than I'm giving credit for, but Belgium. Brazil, Japan. Brazil. Ecuador, Senegal. That's a repeat of the group stages of Qatar. I think Ecuador get revenge. I'm going for Ecuador. Mexico, Scotland. I think Mexico. England, Norway. England. Argentina, Uruguay. Argentina. USA, Egypt. USA. Switzerland, Algeria. Switzerland. Portugal, Ivory Coast. Portugal. So those are my predictions for the round of 32. And let's now go to the round of 16. Germany, France. Wow. That is a very mouth-watering tie so early on in the competition. I'm going to go... I think Germany could go far, but I still think France. Netherlands for me over South Korea. Colombia, Spain looks like a really good one. Spain for me. Turkey, Belgium. I think Turkey could beat them, but I'm going to be boring and say Belgium. Brazil, Ecuador. Brazil. Mexico, England. England. Argentina, USA. Argentina. Switzerland, Portugal. Portugal. And then, yeah, we've set up that big showdown. So France against the Netherlands. France. Spain, Belgium, Spain. Brazil, England. England. And then Argentina, Portugal. I'm going for Argentina. I know most people are going to say Portugal, but I'm going to stick with the reigning champions. France, Spain. Yeah, a repeat of the Euros semi-final. I think I'm going to go for Spain. And then for the other one, England, Argentina. Oh boy. It's a very close one. I think that's going to be very cagey. Could go all the way to pens if that ever happened, or extra time. I'm going to say Argentina, but maybe that's more heart over head. Yeah, I'm just going to go for Argentina, but I think Spain have a genuine chance of winning it. So that's my predictions. Maybe I'll revisit them with more logical choices, if you will, more upsets as well, but that's what I've gone for with the predictions. And now I'll be gifting 5 memberships, and we're not locked in yet. We're not locked in. Okay, well, I'm still here. Eric says Laporte. What about him? What about him? Let's go to the transfer section. Is he at 4.9%? Because if he is, bloody hell. Oh my god, what is it with these World Cup deadlines? We don't even know if it's locked in yet. Laporte's gone down. Bring him back. I'm bringing him back in, but is that cheating? People will say, oh, you cheated, Dylan. You cheated. James has also gone down. Gelindez 4.9. Ooh, Mojica. Okay. This better be for my Matchday 1 squad, by the way, not like Matchday 2. But it says unlimited transfers. I've bought back in Laporte. But let's keep it on the down low if we can, because, yeah, he might go back up to 5%, and technically the deadline hasn't locked in yet. I'm supposed to have dinner fairly soon, by the way. Come on, lock the game. But, yeah, that gives us more time to think. I mean, this is a very stress-free deadline then, if that's the case. Unlike last year. Ah, bloody hell, that's just what we needed, something to lighten the mood. So thanks everyone for putting that out. Let me know your thoughts. It looks like Laporte and James Rodriguez are differentials again. And yeah, the ownership is below 5%. So interesting times. We always have a fun occasion when it comes to World Cup fantasy. I'll keep it on the transfer section just in case. But you can see the ownership figures on screen. Wow, interesting stuff for sure. So now I would have 7, right? The 2 goalkeepers, Oliveira, Elvedi, Laporte, Mojica, and James Rodriguez. 7 scouting bonus potential options, and the rest would be more template. Dylan cheating, just like the Argies. Come on, hand of God. What if this screws your match day 1? Well, yeah, it could, to be fair. Despite the bonus, I think Diaz will lead James easily. He's a better goal scorer, but in terms of records for their country, well, that's a different story. I think James has a much better record. Why not target Sane with the bonus as well? I'm tempted. I am tempted, to be fair. That could be for Rafinha or McTominay, but who knows? Maybe if I make another transfer, it's going to be a -4, which I don't want to do. Looks like it's locked now. Yeah, Jimenez almost scored. I'm trying to get the game up, but having issues with the TV. I'm not sure why. Might need to get another device to watch it, like my tablet. No, they're going up to 5% against this affair. Yeah, probably. Jimenez shot saved. Thank you, Steph, for the super chat. I am Eric. Aymeric Laporte. Yeah, that's a good one. Hopefully stays below 5%. Hopefully we don't get any juju going against us because of the late transfer. That would be great, but thanks for those that pointed it out. They're both 5% now. Are you serious? Oh, for fuck's sake. I think they are. Wait, not? No, they're 4.8%. So if you do refresh it, it looks like they are at 4.8. I'm not sure what's happening, but it's what their ownership is before the deadline. So we'll get clarity on that soon. Yeah, we always get something ridiculous happen when it comes to World Cup fantasy. In terms of my starting 11 and stuff, I don't really change too much anyway. I just brought in Laporte. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's fine. I think what I could also end up doing, I'm not sure if the deadline's locked in yet, by the way. Yeah, it is locked in now. I think the last time I refreshed it wasn't locked in, but now it is, and the Laporte transfer did go through. So it says you can make team changes during a live round, but only with eligible players. So there you go. I was thinking of Rafinha out for, well, yeah, Rafinha out for Sane or Musiala. I had enough money to do that, and I could even have gone to Elise if I wanted. But there you go. I'm quite happy with the team. It's in good shape. And it looks like Laporte, yeah, 4.8% ownership. He qualifies for the scouting bonus. And so does James Rodriguez, 4.8 as well. That's confirmed. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. So in the end, I was kind of like waiting a little bit, seeing if I can push my luck with the scouting bonus. And it has worked in the end with those 2 players that I really wanted in my 50-man squad. But there you go. We are locked in, lads. That's his... let's... Okay. So there you go. Let's talk about it. And I'll be gifting 5 memberships right now, and then 5 a little bit later. Naughty Dylan. To be fair, I was also just trying it out, but I wanted those 2 players, so it is what it is, right? Everyone had the same deadline. Just saying. Yeah, it is finally closed, but they were just 10 minutes late. And we've had that in FPL as well, once upon a time. If you refresh the webpage, you will not have the post-deadline changes made. Well, it happened for me. So, if Jimenez scores, I'll be transferring him in. Well, it's a good thing they locked things in before he scored. They probably saw his shot being saved and they're like, yeah, let's lock this deadline in. So yeah, Laporte should be at 4.8%, not 5, so he does qualify. The hand of Dylan. Not quite as good as the hand of God, but yeah, I'll take that. Can they close it now? Yes. Broken game. It's not as bad as last year. So it's an improvement. Hopefully next year, or the next time they get one of these games up, so we're talking about 3 years' time, they actually get it spot on, but one step at a time. Calma, calma. They need to show it now. God, I've missed the World Cup. Nothing better. Yeah, I love the World Cup as well. The reason why maybe I wasn't as excited as I usually am is because Argentina are the reigning champions, and I want to keep that trophy as long as possible, and it's very difficult to retain it, but they have a chance. I think Argentina can do it, but it's a very open one. I don't think there's a clear standout team. I think Portugal have a good squad, very competitive. You're looking at England. I think Spain would be one of the favourites for me. France. Yeah, I think those would be the best countries overall. And I think Germany are going under the radar a little bit. You can never rule out Brazil, but for me, the best countries would be Argentina, Spain, and I'd say probably England. I think England will be my top 4. So yeah, deadline passed. Let's see what you lot think. Yeah, so 4.8. Bit of jammy stuff there. I don't think so, Paul, but I think Algeria are a decent side. So Quinones has scored a golazo. Let me bring up this game. So yeah, for some reason I just can't get the game up on my TV. So what I'll probably do is show you all these slides for the chips whilst I get the game up and running so I can actually watch it with you lot. So it is worth knowing with the wild card, I wouldn't use it on match day 5 or 6 anymore. I probably will use it on match day 3, especially with the way I've set up my squad. But there you go. And you're going to see my current chip strategy, which I did talk about earlier in today's video. And the mystery chip, let's just go back down a little bit. So with the mystery chip, the rumors are that by using this booster in the knockout stages, it will protect clean sheets after a team concedes their first goal. If activated, goalkeepers, defenders, and midfielders would retain their clean sheet points when conceding once. A second goal conceded would then remove the clean sheet. So the overall chip strategy that I'd recommend to people is the 12th man on match day 1 or 2, the qualification booster on match day 4, the wild card I'd say in match day 2 to 3, and I'm aiming for match day 3 personally, the mystery chip between match days 5 and 7, and the maximum captain for the very latter stages of the competition. And for me, it would be on match day 8, the mystery chip on match day 5. I think the 12th man is almost certainly going to be used now for me on match day 2. And Harry Kane against Ghana is one of the prime candidates for me. With a wild card, match day 3, qualification booster, match day 4, and the mystery chip, yep, probably match day 5 as well. So let's see if I can bring this up. I'm going to try my very best. But yeah, I'll be watching the game with you. I might be delayed a little bit, but it's better than nothing. So the assist was for Lida, who is the holding midfielder, who starts over Edson Alvarez. But yeah, my prediction for this game was 2 or 3-1, I said. We'll see what ends up happening in that one. Okay, I should be getting the game up any second now. Okay. So you can see my chip strategy all lovely jubbly. And now let's go back to my UCL Fantasy squad, which has Laporte and James Rodriguez, both as differentials in there. And I might have to be a bit cautious about my captaincy here. So Elvedi will play before Rafinha, so I will captain Elvedi first, then I'll captain Rafinha, and I should be able to make changes fairly soon. Not yet. Actually, yeah, I can with this. So as you can see, no issues if you maybe made a little mistake with the captaincy. So I was able to change it to Elvedi just now. You just can't make any transfers. Just be very mindful about that. The deadline is officially locked in now, so we are good to go. 0 points as well for me. Not really what I want to see. And let's just have a look at match day 2. Yeah, 2 free transfers. Everything looks in order. So that is not too bad. That's insane that they don't undo your team. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what happened, to be fair. I sold Llorente for Laporte. Yeah, the transfer did go through. But yeah, that would be quite strange if it worked for some people and not others. Strange you cannot see your friends' teams in private leagues. Yeah, you can't. I remember that now. That's a good point. We saw that as well in the last World Cup and also Club World Cup Fantasy. They just don't really allow that to happen. So I finally got the game up. Yeah, that's my final team. Yeah, it's locked in. I refreshed it several times as well. That's what I've currently got for match day 1. So Laporte and James Rodriguez were brought back in. And they were in my squad anyway. So it's not like I brought in players that I was never going to bring in otherwise, or I brought in Quiñones before he scored. So I'm sure people will complain about that anyway. It is what it is. And yeah, let's get this game up and enjoy. I've got it on my left. It's a bit of an awkward viewing angle, but whatever. It'll have to do. So yeah, I've got it here. Okay. I have Laporte. Wait, what? Look at your team. Oh. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah, it didn't go through then. Yeah, I can't lie, I thought it did. I thought it did go through. So yeah, they had no impact then. It's absolutely fine. I can't lie, from a distance I just saw TE, so I was like, oh yeah, I've got Laporte. To be fair, that's the only change I made. I kept James Rodriguez regardless, so yeah, we're all in the same boat. Nothing to worry about. If Llorente is benched though, I might be a bit pissed off, but it is what it is. I mean, ultimately, Laporte went down to 4.8%. Laporte is in match day 2. No, I don't think he went through anyway. I just misread it. Which happens to the best of us. Wait, what? Oh, he is. Yeah, I think you are right. So he is in my match day 2 squad, but not my match day 1 squad. Oh dear. So that's basically a waste of a transfer. Let's, wait, what? Okay, that's a weird one. So let's just bring in Vasquez and then say James Rodriguez out for... Doesn't really matter. Let's bring in Musiala, let's say. Okay, so it would be 2 free transfers. So that's odd. I just have Laporte for match day 2 now, but not for match day 1. Which could work in my favour regardless, but that is very odd. So, yeah, I'm not even sure what happened there. I thought one thing happened, but then something else did. So basically, I've got Laporte for match day 2, which was rightfully pointed out by the viewers. But I don't think it's eaten up into my transfers, which is a good thing. There's always something weird going on with this game. But I would have rather had Laporte now, just being honest. And let me know for anyone if you have free transfers going into match day 2. That shouldn't be the case, but I'd be interested to see that. Laporte is in my match day 2 squad, but it says I still have 2 free transfers. Yeah, the glitch has been that random and specific that I didn't even expect that. I never thought, oh, I have Laporte now for match day 2, but not for match day 1. I thought it was one or the other. But it makes sense. With this rolling lockout system, it's going to cause these issues. We've got all the moves for free in match day 2 only. It's not too bad. I mean, I only did that, basically. Laporte in for Llorente, kind of sideways regardless. It's not a massive impact. Yeah, unless it influences who wins World Cup Fantasy, it's not going to be a big deal. Hopefully that doesn't have a big impact on that. I've got 2 free transfers, not 1. Yeah. We're literally discovering new things as we go along. So yeah, at least things are clarified now. Apologies for the confusion, because honestly, I didn't expect that to happen. So yeah, Falcon, thank you very much. Christian says, look at your team. Yeah, but then there was the Matchday 2 thing where I saw Laporte in there. That's why I was confused. But yeah, thank you to Unnamed is your name. And also to Chief Nerd. I have Llorente Matchday 1, Laporte on Matchday 2. That is exactly it. My change doesn't show Laporte. Yeah, maybe not for Matchday 1 though. None of us got the post-deadline changes, which is a good thing if we're being honest. But it's just weird that it goes through for Matchday 2. But I'd rather that in terms of like it doesn't use a free transfer because, yeah, that would have been a glitch that kind of cost you a little bit. And that even would have potentially pushed me to wildcarding in 2, which I don't want to necessarily do. It did for next week for free though, which is the broken thing. Yeah, exactly that. The game is broken. I tried, yes. What is vice captain? If your original captain doesn't play and you make no changes to your squad, that includes substitutions or captaincy changes, then your vice captain will become your new captain. But ultimately, the vice captain should be useless. If you make changes to your squad, as I recommend, then the vice captain will never be a factor for you. Damn, so those that stay loyal to him are going to get that Laporte boost. Yes, but hopefully if Llorente starts, that's the case for him as well. 4.8% ownership, which is the same as... Wait, what? No, forget about Llorente. Laporte, also 4.8. That's a bit annoying. At least I stuck with James Rodriguez, though. I'm happy with that one. So there's always that sort of reverse psychology, like who's going to sell the player to then get it below to, below 5%. And we're seeing changes here in terms of to the ownership figures being reflected a bit late. So that also causes more confusion. But yeah, good thing it didn't use a free transfer as far as we're aware. FIFA released a match predictor a couple of hours ago. I didn't see it. Johnny says my 2 transfers are gone. That isn't good if it works for some people and not others. Laporte more likely to be over 5% for Matchday 2. Yeah, probably. Yeah, we'll see. That is a good point. Will they fix it or just scam us? It's like literally we're going back, rolling the clocks back a year, and it's not quite the same. I think Club World Cup Fantasy was more of a farce with Matchday 1, but yeah, it's not really what you want to see. Game broken as hell. I did all my late changes, or last changes on PC before deadline, but in the app it's still the same. Well, if you did this before the deadline, as in before 8 PM, 26 minutes ago, then you've been hard done by. But in terms of this post-deadline, ghost deadline, whatever you want to call it, well, ultimately, I think it makes sense for the transfer not to go through this week. But yeah, we still got a glitch happening regardless. It likes to make changes, but for the next game week. I had a feeling that would happen, which is why I was a bit hesitant about buying Laporte for Llorente. But only time will tell what happens. FIFA have the hand of God itself in this transfer. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure a lot of people would have bought back James Rodriguez and stuff, but it's not going to do anything for Matchday 1. Another person calling it a glitch fest. Still good, though, because you have Laporte and 2 transfers. Yes, but as someone rightfully pointed out, if he goes above 5% ownership and Llorente stays below it, that could be a bit annoying if Spain end up keeping a clean sheet. But it is what it is. It says you have unlimited transfers in Matchday 2. No. Don't worry about that. I've only got 2, so it's all refreshed now. I'm guessing you asked that earlier when it wasn't fully updated. It says 2 free transfers for me. Yep, that's all good. That's what we want. Euro Fantasy is the GOAT, says Paul. I like Euro Fantasy. To be fair, it's identical to the Champions League, which I cover on this channel, and I have done for the past 6 years. So I enjoyed the World Cup and the fantasy game, but I think what caused the most issues with the deadlines and the transfers is the rolling lockout system. Whilst I get what it strives for, and it's ambitious, and I like the concept of it, it's quite difficult to execute. I've got Nusa versus Iraq, but it's switched to James Rodriguez for Matchday 2. That's what I mean. But that might be a transfer that you wanted to do anyway. So for those that maybe caught on or said, you know what, let me just buy in players I want for Matchday 2, they're going to be in a very strong position for the upcoming deadline. I'm calling it now. It will update and take away a free transfer from us. No, I'd rather they take away Laporte. So just give me back Llorente and give me the transfer. I don't want to be a transfer down. How can they mess up every single time? I think they have a lot of interesting ideas and also like very bold concepts, but some of them, like the rolling lockout system, causes big problems. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think they'll just keep things as they are. I don't think they'll change it. I mean, we saw the big farce of the deadline locking in early last year, and they never changed it. If we're being honest, they just kept things as it was. They didn't even acknowledge it, and the other deadlines worked as they were intended to. So I think they'll just do something similar here and leave things as they are. My changes weren't done. Yeah, check for Matchday 2. I'm guessing you've done that already, but very strange stuff. I have Crepper for Matchday 2, but 2 free transfers. Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that one. A bit like my Laporte Llorente saga. Good luck, Akash. Yeah, I told you already about Vice Captain. They don't earn any points for you unless your original captain doesn't play. Then your Vice Captain becomes your captain, but that only occurs if you don't make any changes to your squad. That means no substitutions and no captaincy switches, but my recommendation is to be in full control of your squad. So honestly, the Vice Captain shouldn't matter. They don't give you any extra points, only if they turn into your captain by the end of the week. Yeah, I got Hammers for Matchday 2 with 2 free transfers. We got the Glitch of God. I already had Hammers, by the way. For those that are wondering, the only transfer I made post-deadline was Laporte in for Llorente. I already kept James Rodriguez. I kept the faith, and I was rewarded a little bit. I didn't see Laporte on your Matchday 2. Yeah, you can see it now. This is the Matchday 2 squad. So I've got Laporte against Saudi Arabia. But yeah, we don't know his official ownership right now, just what it was before the Matchday 1 deadline, which was 4.8%. So it might be worth going to that website again. I'll have a look. So this is the how to play guide for those that are interested. Take a look and see what you feel there. And a big up to the people still watching the stream, and 5 of you could be rewarded with a membership for an entire month. That means early access to my videos, prior to comments, amongst many other perks. Drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and also click the hype button on the YouTube app, and share this with those who love World Cup Fantasy, if you still love it by now, the Euros, UCL Fantasy, FPL, and even the Club World Cup last summer. So I'm going to make a note of this page, but it is down, unfortunately. So I'm going to have that linked here, and I'll be using that maybe in the build-up to certain videos, but that's going to be very useful, I think, for certain live streams. So I've already got it bookmarked. Thanks to Stepaki and the others for pointing out WCF Scouting. I never expected a website for that, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay. So we just had a water break in the South Africa-Mexico game, but I'm probably like 2 minutes behind anyway. So you can see the rest of the rules here in the how to play video that I covered a few days ago. Be sure to check that out if you haven't done so already. The next deadline will be in a week's time on the 18th of June. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. I actually can see teams of my friends now. Okay, that's fair enough. I thought they weren't able to see it before, as in previous editions. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I think the reason why someone pointed that out earlier was because the deadline wasn't officially locked in yet. I transferred in players that have good fixtures in Matchday 1, and they are in Matchday 2. Yeah, that is not ideal. Maybe that's where the wildcard comes into play for you. So the sneaky changes are free transfers. Technically, I mean, for me, it didn't count. So I've still got 2 free transfers, and I only made 1 move regardless. It was very sideways. It's not going to determine who finishes first or second in the world, I hope. But I think Laporte won't be a differential by Matchday 2. I'm lucky my glitch transfer actually fits the fixtures. Yeah, same here. Or at least it doesn't have a big impact. Only from a scouting bonus perspective. Well, wait, I'm not sure if this was asked in Spanish or English. because YouTube is translating everything, but yeah, ¿de dónde sos? ¿Por quién hinchas? Soy de Argentina, mi familia viene de Rosario y bueno, hincho por Argentina, obviamente. Vivo en Inglaterra, pero tío, la verdad nunca me identifiqué con la selección de Inglaterra, pero bueno, no lo odio, por lo menos no lo odio. Now I can see other leagues teams, that's good. And thank you Punjabi for confirming. Basically every player stayed under 5% except Rangel, which was to be expected when it comes to Rangel, because we know that he was going to start. So he was one player that I was very confident would rise above 5%, but with Crepo and Galindez, I wasn't sure. The same goes for James and Laporte, which is why I ended up keeping James Rodriguez in my own squad. My free changes went to Matchday too. You're not the only one, but at least you didn't take a hit. Look on the bright side. Does the wildcard cancel hits in World Cup Fantasy? Yes, wildcard does cut off the hits. So if they end up somehow making it into a -4 for you, I think wildcarding could work very well. But I don't think they will. I think it will just stay as it is, and you've got 2 free transfers. So yeah, that's interesting. Good to know. And a lot of my friends aren't really playing World Cup Fantasy, but if they have made a team before the deadline, I'll make a league as well with them and see what they've come up with. But a few of them joined, I think, my YouTube league. So a lot of people are in there already, hundreds, maybe thousands already. And let's see who ends up on top. I have Jacques in my team, but for Matchday 2, I have James. That's not too bad. I mean, you'd rather have James for Matchday 1, but Jacques is a quality player. Dylan, you really outdid yourself in this video, and the rest, good luck. And happy to see you, and thank you so much, mate. Thank you very much. I tried my very best. I mean, my voice is still on its last legs, and very soon I should be fully recovered, but it's just when you have like an illness and it's targeting your vocal cords, that's when it gets a bit nasty and tricky. But I've done everything I could, and at least I got the main bits of content out for you. Maybe if it wasn't for this, I would have posted a few more videos, but hopefully next time. And if you want to see different types of content for Matchday 2, I'd be very open to doing that. And yeah, the best wildcard team, my own team selection, the deadline stream, and possibly something else will be headed your way in time for next Friday's deadline. So we've got a week until the next kerfuffle and just absolute chaos. I'm very much looking forward to it. How comes you have Vasquez from Mexico in your Matchday 2? What? No, I don't. Yeah, I don't have Vasquez. I've got Galindez, Kimmich, Oliveira, Elvedi, Laporte, Rafinha, Wirtz, McTominay, Haaland, Mbappe, and Oyarzabal, Vargas, Mojica, Bruno Fernandes, Rodriguez for Matchday 2. The only change for this game week is basically Llorente instead of Laporte, and I've still got 2 free transfers according to the game. I'm going to refresh it, and it still says 2 free transfers. So, yeah, nothing to worry about as things stand. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is gift 5 more memberships. And we are very close, by the way, to 300 likes. Let's be sure to get to that by the end of the stream. So thank you to those that have already shown support. And we have made huge strides towards 40k. So yeah, hopefully that will be attained within the next couple of months. That will be a big one to achieve for sure. Rangel almost missed the ball. That was obviously a few minutes ago. I bet someone's going to find a loophole soon. Well, people did for the Club World Cup and the previous World Cup. Yeah, that was well documented. Good luck as well, Ian, and to everyone else. The transfer I made for Matchday 2 and still have 2 available moves. Yeah, pretty much the same for all of us. It's 3 AM here now, watching in the app, free online by the Malaysian channel. That's good. It's also free on British TV, which isn't often, but for World Cups you always get that technically, and the Euros. But yeah, I have to go to another room to watch it in real time. Doesn't mean vice captain doesn't give you any points. Only if your original captain doesn't play and you make no substitutions, don't change the captaincy, and then your vice captain turns into your captain, then you get double points. Otherwise, no, you don't get anything else. I miss your meme with the ref in the African Cup of Nations last year. Yeah, was looking at some of the Club World Cup stuff from last year, and I saw the thumbnail for that. I'm like, oh yeah, that video. Good times. I have a similar team to you, but double Uruguay defense, double Ecuador, including goalkeeper, Haaland 12th man, Havertz, and went from McTominay to Wirtz last 2 minutes. Yeah, I prefer Wirtz over McTominay. Good squad overall. Havertz would have been the ideal 12th man for me this week, but I might just go for Kane next time when it comes to Matchday 2. FIFA giving what they took last year. I'm not sure if it makes up for it, and not necessarily the same people are affected, but I get the sentiment. That is a good point. Eating good right now. Stanley Cup finals, NBA finals, and now the World Cup. I'm only watching the World Cup, to be fair, but a lot of sporting events happening. Obviously, Roland Garros not so long ago, but some of the best players knocked out early or injured. But yeah, roll on the summer. Let the show begin. Exactly. And we've already got a goal, obviously, between Mexico and South Africa. Scored by Quinones very early on in the game. The assist by Lida. None of them in my team. Thank you, Johnny. Good luck to you as well. I got Sabitzer in Matchday 1, James in 2. I had Sabitzer as my James replacement, but just a few minutes before the official deadline, I bought back James, and I'm happy about that. But if Sabitzer scores a brace or hat-trick, I might feel differently. There are 3 players playing in the Malaysian League, 2 Jordan players, and 1 Curaçao in the World Cup. Let me know their names, and I'm guessing you'll be rooting for them a little bit. Great stream, Dylan. Hope they don't take our free transfers for the Matchday 2 changes. I mean, for me, it's just 1 transfer, but I think every transfer is precious at this stage, and I want a wild card on Matchday 3, so ideally, they won't do that. And if you're asking me, I don't think they will take it away from us. My transfers got reverted back. Is this normal? I mean, there's a lot of doubts about this happening right now, so I'm refreshing again. Yeah, for Matchday 1, the transfer wouldn't have gone through. But if you made a move post-deadline, like I did by bringing in Laporte for Llorente, that will take place for Matchday 2 without taking any transfers away from you. So that means you've got 2 available moves for Matchday 2. Successfully changed from Laporte to Llorente like you, Dylan, and 2 transfers for Matchday 2. Yes, but not for Matchday 1. Laporte is not in my squad for the Cape Verde game. My current plan is to use Harry Kane as my 12th man. I might even go for something like Vinicius Jr. if he actually shows something at international level. So we'll see how he does against Morocco. But yeah, I think a Brazilian player against Haiti could be quite promising. I'm quite open-minded about that chip, but I'm probably going to look at something like that. Maybe even Yamal against Saudi Arabia if he's expected to start, but the most likely is Harry Kane against Ghana. I'm guessing that's Valera. Yeah, I think Valera will start at right back and Oliveira on the left. FIFA already corrupt. I wouldn't call the fantasy game corrupt. It's just very ambitious. It's got interesting ideas, but the rolling lockout system causes problems with the deadlines. So I'll gift 5 more memberships as we close this deadline stream, and we are closing in on 300 likes. Vamos, let's do it. Come on. It costs nothing, and it goes a long way. I've answered hundreds of questions today and gone through so much information. That includes the predicted lineups too, which so far has been fairly solid when it comes to Mexico, South Africa. Good luck as well to you, Wiprino. Let me know who you're supporting in the World Cup as well. That goes to everyone who's in the live chat. Yes, I am still live, even though my voice is, well, on its last legs. FIFA and America were doing their best to win the World Cup before it started. Yeah, I can't really disagree there. Okay. So I'm very confident we'll get this, but 5 more likes and I'll be gifting 5 more memberships. So just waiting for that to happen, and then we'll, be gifting more memberships there. Yeah, Valera should start, like I just mentioned. You probably said this a million times already, but is it normal that we can't see other teams? Well, people have said that you can. Maybe some leagues are private. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but if you refresh, you should be able to see that. How is the FIFA Play Zone not sponsoring you? Well, I haven't exactly been all in their favor, if you will. I haven't been saying they're amazing. I just have a balanced view on it. So I think they've got really interesting ideas. I like some of them, like the scouting bonus, whilst it is flawed and it can cause a lot of mayhem. that's also part of the plan, I guess, to get engagement as well just before the deadline locks in. But yeah, FIFA will not be sponsoring me, that's for sure. Algeria, says Paul. Well, good luck to you, but not for match day 1. I want Argentina to win that one, but hopefully you go far in this tournament. How's this for bad luck? I put 12th man on Haaland and went to transfer him out to Torres, and the game locked, so I have Haaland ×2. What? Oh, but surely Haaland's there for match day 2, not for match day 1, but that's actually not too bad. I mean, ideally, you'd have Haaland now and 12th man on match day 2. If you catch my drift, right? No, that doesn't make sense, actually. I think Mbappe would be the standout for match day 2, but that's odd. Once again, it's just what we're getting now with World Cup Fantasy. Very strange times are ahead of us. I made 3 transfers when the deadline passed. Well, some people are fearing that they're going to take away transfers from us, so that means you will have taken a -4 hit. The alternative is for them to just like revert all your moves, so you're then stuck with your original matchday 1 squad. What I think will happen is you will have that exact team, exactly what you did, and nothing will change. So that means no hits, no reversals, and you will have what you ended up with your matchday 2 squad that you see right now. Good luck as well, Twisted Parky. Where do you see Argentina reaching in the World Cup? Well, I'll put them to be champions in my bracket, but that was also very weighted by my support for them. I think they'll go quite far in this tournament, but yeah, against Portugal, England in the quarterfinals and semi-finals, and also potentially Spain in the final, I mean, that could go either way, all of those matches, but I think Argentina have the experience of winning it. With Messi, you've always got a chance, and it's a team effort. They've got one of the best international managers of all time in Scaloni, a solid defence, good young talent, 2 of the best strikers. So I think there's a lot going for Argentina still, but you've also got Spain, Portugal, Germany, Brazil, France. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think Spain are probably the favourites for me, but I think Argentina can go all the way, and I hope they do. So Noor Al-Rabde, Rawabade, I need to pronounce that. I'll call him Noor. He's the main man in the Jordan squad. I was mainly referencing their striker when it came to my favourite option, but apologies for butchering the name. I'll look into that and correct myself next time. So he's my forward and 12th man as well. That should not be possible. So yeah, that is a very weird one, actually. They shouldn't have vice-captain then if it's not helping. I think it's just for those that leave their team and don't make any changes. So I get why they've included it. They're trying to strike a balance between FPL and UCL Fantasy. I agree, if I was making the game, I wouldn't have the vice-captaincy, but I understand why they've done it. Croatia all the way. Good luck to you as well. Very good in the last 2 World Cups. Hi, Bud. Is there a site where you can see live player scores? No. Unfortunately not. So that's mainly something we see in FPL, and hopefully these other fantasy games get it too. I think it'd be very good for the game. Yeah, I wanted to get him out, but as I went to move him and put the 12th man, and I went to get him out of my normal team for Torres, it's locked, so not now. For matchday 1, I have Haaland as a 12th man. Very strange, but there you go. That's what we get. Can I use my 12th man chip on matchday 1 now, after the game's already started? No. You can't do that. So basically, all you can do now is make transfers for matchday 2, and also use a chip for the following matchday. And my plan is to use the 12th man next week. But you can't do it now. It's just not possible. So yeah, LVD's my captain, which sounds a bit crazy. He wasn't even in my original plans, so to speak, but there you go. Thanks, Wiprino. FIFA Playzone doesn't have to sponsor you. We will. Much appreciated. And yeah, I'm not sure if they will be sponsoring anyone. Maybe their own servers or their deadlines, because there's always an issue with that. Rooting for Sweden and Iran. After that comes Argentina. Well, I'm glad to hear it, and I think for a lot of people, they still like Argentina because of Messi. Otherwise, we'd be very hated. I think a lot of people post-Messi will be rooting against us, but I love it. So either way, it's sort of like fuels motivation. I hope Portugal will face Argentina in the final. Well, if they both finish first of their groups, they'll probably face each other in the quarterfinals, to be honest with you. But in the World Cup previously, that was a real possibility. This time, not so much, unless one of them finishes second. But yeah, that's a different story. See you guys when you see me. Likewise, Ian, enjoy yourself. Portugal or Netherlands are stated to win the World Cup by a very acclaimed predictor who got 2014, 18, 22 winner correct. I'll be honest, I don't want any of them to win it. If I had to pick, probably Netherlands, but I don't know. Like, I preferred the Netherlands back in the day, even when they knocked out Argentina. We've knocked them out a few times ourselves, obviously. There was that beef, obviously, in the last World Cup, which was great to see. But yeah, I don't want Portugal to win it. Like, no disrespect to Portuguese viewers, and I do like Portugal in general, but I don't know. It's just probably Ronaldo, if I'm being honest. It's just the fanboys that'd be unbearable. I don't mind Portugal in general, to be fair. So yeah, if it wasn't for the toxic fanboys and stuff. I mean, look, do I prefer Portugal or Brazil? I'd rather Portugal win it, I guess, but for me, it's always Argentina. Then we'll see what happens. But yeah, the Netherlands are definitely the biggest footballing nation to have never won the World Cup. It's a big surprise that they haven't. Cheers, bud, for answering my questions. Loving your videos. Thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm glad that someone had their questions answered. And to be fair, most of you have. But yeah, with my voice, it was a bit of a challenge today. Yeah, bro, it could be a glitch for you guys for Matchday 2, having the same player times 2. It's honestly ridiculous, but I've got Laporte, not Llorente as things stand. I live in the UK, so that's why people would say, support England, the country that gave you everything, but I just can't really do it. Jimenez almost scored. Ronnie Williams saving the header. Yeah, I think Mexico will score again. How many points should we be aiming for a captain? It also depends on the context of the match day, so is it towards the beginning or the end? So right now, let's say after LVD I get 7 points, I'd probably change it. So 10 plus would probably be the sort of barometer, the aim I've got. But as we get towards the end of the match day, that's where I might settle on a 7 or 8 pointer. So it depends on where you're at. Ronnie Williams save again. I had a soft spot for Argentina before Messi. To be fair, Crespo, Riquelme, Aymar were cold. Yeah, look, some people would have liked Argentina regardless, but I think the vast majority is basically Messi. And yeah, it's kind of a weird one, but Argentina have always produced great players, especially in the attack, and hopefully they can produce more after Messi retires, which is not going to be a good day for football, but enjoy him whilst he's here. The Economist, who predicted the winners correctly in the last 3 World Cup, predicting Netherlands to win. I'm not sure why, though, and Timber being out is a massive blow. I think their defence looks really good still, but their attack leaves a lot to be desired, and Depay might not even start. It could be Daniel Marlin up front, Somerville on the right, and Gakpo on the left, which isn't a bad attack, but yeah, compare that to Van Persie, Robben, Schneider, Dennis Bergkamp. Yeah, it's not quite the same. Are Diaz and Sane a good shout for this match day? Yes, and one of the changes I would have made just before the deadline officially locked in was Sane. It's a good thing I didn't bring him in because I don't want him for matchday 2. It was mainly just a matchday 1 punt. I took Diaz over James and Sane over Musiala. That's fair enough. I preferred James over Diaz, but mainly because of scouting bonus. But obviously we didn't know that for sure until things officially locked in. But yeah, Sane looks good. And with Musiala, he's not really anywhere near his best at the moment. So if we do get 3 more likes, I'll be gifting 5 memberships. A very simple task there as we approach halftime of the first World Cup game between Mexico and South Africa. I've been going live for over 3 hours now. Yeah, which is something I didn't expect, but I am doing my very best here. And afterwards, I'll be giving myself a little bit of a rest as I prepare the content for Matchday 2 next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We can now check out other fantasy teams. Yes, people have pointed that out earlier in the stream. That's something we found out, I think, maybe 10, 20 minutes ago, but it's good. I was kind of fearing that we can't see it. I mean, it's not a big deal anyway. The only downside to that is people will copy, potentially, especially with content creators. I hope that's not the case. He's using mathematical statistics to predict the winner. So he said Argentina in 2022. I wonder what made him think that, apart from Messi. Will you go for the 12th man on match day 2? Yes, and it's probably going to be on Harry Kane. I'm Brazilian Italian, so I'm rooting for Brazil and Portugal. Yeah, I like Italy, to be fair. I mean, in a World Cup, I wouldn't want them to win because they've got 4 already, but in the Euros, for example, I don't mind when they win it. Brazil, I have a lot of respect for them, and I don't hate them, but in football, yeah, they're Argentina's biggest rival, so I can't be supporting them, to be fair. So it would have to be a very unique set of circumstances for me to support Brazil in a World Cup final, but I think they can go far. See you and take care, Dylan. Catch you on the Matchday 2 deadline. Yes, that will be in a week's time. Be sure not to miss it. Cheers. It's a good cracking match. Watch it. I will. It's on my left side, and for the second half, I will be watching it for sure. But yeah, it's also good talking to all of you. Have transferred Cucurella to Laporte after the deadline, and it didn't go through. Laporte is there for match day 2 though, and 2 free transfers, so I take it. Yeah, I had the same thing basically. Instead of Cucurella, it was Llorente. So I've got Llorente for match day 1 and Laporte for match day 2, and 2 free transfers for the next deadline. Van der Ven as left back with his pace will be insane. I still think he's better as a centre back, but on paper it's a very solid Dutch defence, and it would have been even better with Jiri and Timber. Well, I live in London. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan and Argentina. 2 hated clubs, 2 hated teams, but 2 are the best, I'd say. But that's just my opinion. Smash the like. Thank you, Sophia. Scouting bonus is back. They need something like this in FPL. I like it. Obviously, it causes some confusion and a bit of like late drama, but that's also the point of it. Yeah, Timber's out of the World Cup. He was pulled out of the squad, just like Baumgartner from Austria. No Mohamed Kudus for Ghana. Yeah, there's quite a few injuries flying around. Will I get minus points for the transfers I made next week? I said this to you earlier. That shouldn't be the case. Some people are fearing that. So if you made free transfers, there is a slight chance that you get a -4. I don't think that'll happen though, if I'm being honest. Will FPL steal any chips from the World Cup? I don't think so. No. I mean, never say never. People always talk about the Limitless from UCL Fantasy, but I don't think FPL will copy. I think they'll probably just come up with something else. Obviously, this season they had, yeah, double the amount of boosters. So you had 1 wild card, free hit, bench boost, and triple captain for the first half of the season, and then once again for the second half of the campaign. Yeah, I'm not watching on that. It's ITV for me. Any big team that will struggle, says Easy. There's always like a bit of a shock, maybe a surprise elimination early. Shock. I mean, I think Japan could top the Netherlands' group, but I have, in my predictions for the bracket, I went for the Netherlands first. But I'm not so sure about that one. Yeah, I want to see things first, but obviously in terms of predictions, sort of like going into it fresh, who could disappoint? Maybe France? We'll see. Would you be up for interactive bench and captaincy in FPL? I like it in UCL Fantasy. It definitely suits tournament football. I'm not sure if it works necessarily in the Premier League, and a lot of people are quite casual, and it would be too much for them to make changes. I mean, who knows? In the future, maybe FPL could have like an automatic system in place, and it just does it for you, but I think it's better when it's manual, and it rewards people for being engaged and for actually going on the game. So we'll see what happens. Good luck as well to Stepaki. Yes, we are at half-time. And I will be tuning into the second half. Josh then, sorry, says, hey Dylan, my team is Gunn, Rushet, Sanchez, Cancelo, Llorente, Kimmich, Ryerson, Bruno, James. Yeah, he is a scouting bonus player. Diaz, Gutierrez, Wirtz, Oyarzabal, Havertz, Ronaldo, 12-man Haaland, Mbappe, Rafinha, Dest in Gemic 2, Gemic 3 wildcard. So you're going to take a -4 for matchday 2. I'm not sure about taking a -4 there, but I like the other 2 transfers. Matchday 3 wildcard is what I'm looking at. And look, a -4 wouldn't hurt, but try not to make a habit of it throughout the tournament, particularly in the knockout stages. I don't like Gutierrez so much, but the rest look really good. I've got Llorente as well, but Laporte was always my preference, and it's a shame they went to below 5%, and I wasn't able to get him in for matchday 1. but he's in my Matchday 2 squad. Maybe with what you're saying, you made a transfer or two after the deadline and it goes through for Matchday 2 without using any of the transfers officially. 12-man Haaland makes a lot of sense. Ronaldo is still one of the best forwards on paper for the first 2 match days, but he played very poorly against Nigeria yesterday. He missed a lot of big chances, and we'll see if he ends up being a credit to Portugal and a sort of difference maker, or someone dragging them back, which we saw at times in the last World Cup. I've always liked Cancelo and Llorente attacking threat. I really like Balogun and Pulisic, but I'm back in USA to lose. Yeah, I think Turkey looked the strongest in that group, but it's quite balanced overall. I think Paraguay are underrated. Yeah, Cancelo and Llorente, I get that. Cancelo was in one of my early drafts, but overall, yeah, Llorente is in my current squad. We'll see how that goes. So for my poll, Matchday 2 was the winner. 61% of you are using the 12th man on Matchday 2. We just hit 300 likes, and I'm a man of my word. So don't go anywhere. Don't put it down. I'm going to gift 5 memberships, and it's completely random. I don't choose it. So, yeah, Dylan doing watch-alongs. A little bit. I've seen parts of the game on the side. At the beginning, I couldn't even get the TV up, which would make it even simpler for me to watch. But yeah, I'll be tuning in very soon. Obviously, we hit 5 super chats and obviously 300 likes. So I wanted to give something back to the people by gifting 10 memberships. So, Ishi Aboy, Sefer, Wiprino, Kyle, and Prayers enjoy the membership, and definitely well deserved for Sefer, long-time viewer of the channel, and Wiprino, who gave a super chat earlier. So you have been rewarded. A dub for you. Enjoy that. Now, it's not the longest deadline stream. I've done, I think, 4 hours once for UCL Fantasy, and I've done a few 3-hour ones before, but yeah. Ultimately, for me to do 3 hours is probably not a good idea for my voice, but I'm still doing it. I'm a bit of a nutcase when it comes to fantasy football and when it comes to YouTube, but I'm doing my best. Yeah, I'm a workaholic when it comes to videos and live streams for sure. The Legend of Renegadil says, my team is terrible. I didn't see any content before I made it and did zero research. Yeah, look, if you could go back in time, my advice would be watch my videos and you will have everything you need to know. I know some videos were long, like a 1-hour special yesterday with the predicted lineups. That was a record for me. But yeah, it definitely was worth it with all the insight and every single detail being broken down. So you know the game by the back of your hand, basically. See you soon, Tustapaki. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, extra transfers are a -3. True, I did say -4. That's by habit. You are right to correct that. It's a -3. Which I delve into in my How to Play guide, and I say it correctly in that video. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything there. Yeah. But look, France have a lot of incredible talent. And yeah, I think Africa as well have a lot of great players, and hopefully more players choose their own national teams as well. And that goes for across the board, not just France. If CAP gets red, so CAP will be locked. Oh, captain, not CAP. That is a good question, actually, because you can't substitute a captain, or what am I saying? You can't substitute a player who's been sent off. But what about a captain? You should still be able to change. Hopefully we don't find out, because that means something's gone wrong for us, but I think you can still change the captaincy there. You just can't sub them out. Enjoy that with Prino and Sefer. And also use the new emojis. I've added a few new ones here. That's a messy one. And these were made by my good friend. So yeah, there's Erling Haaland, and I've got a nice little mask for Haaland. You might have seen it in a FPL video very recently. There's Dembele with the Ballon d'Or eyes, and Lamine Yamal, who might start on Matchday 1. Do you think that'll be the case? Let me know in the live chat as well. I'm going to set myself a challenge to make a whole scouting bonus team every matchday, like the Club World Cup. You might as well have some fun with it. That could be a bit of a test. I mean, we saw that with Laporte and James Rodriguez, of course, in today's deadline streams. But if you go for even bigger differentials, then that's certainly feasible. Thank you very much, Safir. Big up to you as well. And very kind words. Johnny says you may be saying hits are -4 out of habit. Yeah, exactly that. You know me very well by now. -3. For everyone watching, a hit is only a -3. I still wouldn't recommend it, though. So scouting bonus is basically when you pick a player who has less than 5% ownership and who gets 4 points or more. If that's the case, they will give you an additional 2 points, which is called the scouting bonus. Tom McGinn says, I've gone big for Matchday 2 with 1.6 million in the bank. I've got something similar. If I look at my budget, I've got 1.7. Not making a competition, by the way. Very competitive guy by heart, but I didn't mean to upstage you there. Anyone playing the chip challenge? I haven't done any of those games, but I'd be quite open to doing it. Maybe I'll have a look now. I might keep Haaland, Matchday 2, and only transfer out 2 Germans. No hits. Yeah, I'd still like Haaland against Senegal, and even against France. He's fixture-proof, but it's definitely the Iraq fixture where you want the Norwegian robot. Yeah, the 2 Germans look incredible this week. I think this is definitely one of those national teams that you could have tripled up on for Matchday 1. And yeah, for Matchday 2 and 3, it looks a bit less appealing there. But yeah, those emojis look quite good, don't they? Big up to Antonio, a good friend of mine who made those emojis, and there are more on the way, so keep your eyes peeled, and they will also be used in the Champions League and FPL next season. And UCL Fantasy, of course, a big driver of growth on the channel. So, before I wrap up, let's go to a few of these other games. So let's see, bracket challenge. I think, wait, why is it not here? Or is it not updated? What? Launch edition. Did this save or not? What the f... No. This was my prediction, Argentina to win. I mean, that's a bit biased, you could say, but I was right about it last time, I will say that, but I just want to wait to, like, confirm this, because I'm not sure if I'm even going to keep this prediction. But yeah, I did make it before the deadline. Just in case, I'll keep that. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to see this. Okay. Oh, match predictor. Oh, yeah, and it's too late now. They released it too late, because I was going to say, yeah, 2-1 or 3-1 between Mexico and South Africa. I know that Easy was highlighting this as well. So I might have a look at match predictor, but I've already, it's too late now for the first game. Let's just go for something like that. Canada 1-0. USA Paraguay. I think that could be quite low scoring. I'm going to go for 1-1. Qatar Switzerland. Let's go for a 2-0 Switzerland win. Brazil 2-1. I'm going to go for 3-0 Scotland. Australia Turkey. 3-1 Turkey. Germany 5-0. Could be more than that. Netherlands Japan. I think Japan could even get a result, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Ivory Coast Ecuador, I think, could be low scoring. I might go for a 0-0 or 1-0 Ecuador. Sweden Tunisia. I think Sweden win, but maybe not as comfortably as you'd expect. I think it might be 3-2. Spain Cape Verde, let's go 5-0, and let's go Germany 6-0. Belgium Egypt 2-1. Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, 1-0 Uruguay. Iran, New Zealand. I think Iran win, 2-1. France, Senegal. That's another 2-1 sort of game, in my opinion. Iraq, Norway. I'm going to go for 3-1 Norway. Argentina, Algeria. Not an easy game. I'm going to go for 2-1 Argentina. Might even go for a 1-0, but yeah, stick with that. Austria, Jordan, I'm going to go 4-0, not to Jordan, but to Austria. Portugal, Congo, I'm going to go for 4-0 to Portugal. Might even raise that. England, Croatia, 1-0 England. Ghana, Panama, I'm going to go for... Let's go for another thriller, 3-2. And Uzbekistan, Colombia, 3-0 Colombia. Don't miss out on 2 points. Well, I should say 2 points. The double points, the booster. Yeah, probably Germany. Yeah, let's go for Germany or something like that. Yeah, it's a shame I didn't see this before, but it was quite hard to find. It wasn't in the drop-down menu, otherwise I would have done this. But at least I've saved the rest of my predictions. I would have gone for probably 2-1 Mexico, maybe 3-1, if I was able to actually make a prediction there. Let's check out the other games as well. Chip Challenge. What's that about? Days 1 and 2, make picks. Oh, wow, it's already... Okay, great. Czech Republic. So Czech Republic to score. Both teams to score. Yeah, I think USA will score. Canada. Canada clean sheet, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I have gone for 1-0, but I'm not entirely convinced. Tap a card once for yes, tap again for no. Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting. Didn't expect that. Then there's Who Am I? Player of the match, which is just you voting for the best player. Let's go for Who Am I? Just have a look. So can you guess the player from the previous clubs? Roma, Inter Milan, Fenerbahce, Fiorentina, Schalke 04. Oh, fuck. Yeah, you got me. I'm not even sure about that. Fenerbahce and Roma. No, I think I might lost for this one. Maybe I'm overcomplicating it. That's not an easy one. Maybe it is. There you go. Dzeko, yeah, Dzeko. Yeah, you're right. I think it is Dzeko. And these must be World Cup players. Yeah, it is Dzeko, isn't it? Did he play for Schalke? I don't think he did. That's the only one that I think lets it down. Yeah, I don't think he... Did he play for Schalke? He played for Wolfsburg for sure, but... Oh, Edin Dzeko is at Schalke, you absolute... Yeah. I was going to say something inappropriate. You are right. Here's Dzeko. Alright, thanks, lads. I wasn't going to get that. Yeah, I'm not going to claim credit for that. Let's move on. Next. Okay, so... Perugia, Pescara, Sassuolo, Inter Milan, Napoli. Oh, fuck. And it's not even an Italian player. Who is this? Like, I was going to say something kind of rogue. Wow, I need to brush up on my ball knowledge when it comes to this. I had someone in mind, but I'm just not too sure if that's the case. Like, who is hot between all those Italian clubs? Without being Italian, per se. Inter Milan. Maybe I should focus on that. And Napoli. Bloody hell. Yeah, this is not looking good for the Dylan Stonks. Yeah, I'm still here, but not for much longer. Politano, that... The thing is, like, it can't be... Wait, Politano is here. Wait, can I put Italian players? I can. I didn't know that. But I wasn't going to get Politano, I'm not going to lie to you, but I was going to just say, oh, it must be an Italian option. Let's put Politano. Yeah, you're right. That's ball knowledge from... let's get the... Yeah, by Free Wilding. Big up to you. World Cup leaderboard updates instantly. Top guy overall has 22 points. Yeah, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. He's not going to be top by the end, although fair play to him for doing that well. Yeah, I mean, it's always been a bit of a strange policy with Athletic Bilbao. I think it's the same with their managers as well, which is why I thought Iraola could go there, but once the Liverpool job opened up, it was a different story. Yeah, I think Spain-Argentina final would be incredible, but even the semis and the quarterfinals would be incredible too. Yeah, the travel, it's kind of weird. Like, I was at the stadium for the Champions League final, and it was so surreal the moment that PSG won it. Because for a moment I was like, okay, just score the next penalty and or save the next penalty and we're back in business. But that was it. It's over. Yeah, I'm a bit gutted. I think if Eze scored that penalty, we'd probably go on to win it. And I think PSG were there for the taking because Arsenal played very well defensively. It's just on the ball. There's a lot. So levels to reach, really. I think Arsenal can be much better there creatively and from open play. But yeah, just a mistake by Mosquera to concede a penalty. I'm not sure if PSG would have scored otherwise, but yeah, the trip back wasn't that bad. you know, I met new people in Budapest, and it was a great experience overall. The only bad thing is that I got ill since then, but it is what it is. I'm kind of rooting for Colombia, Japan, and Uruguay. I don't mind those countries in general. It's just Uruguay saying, "Oh, we've got 4 World Cups." You got 2, okay? You're a great footballing nation, but you don't have 4 World Cups. That's all I'm going to say. Otherwise, I don't really mind them. But yeah, Colombia, Japan, Bears. I know there are. You can always like nitpick certain countries and say, "Oh, this fan base has like some cocky people," and people say that about Colombia, but there are some nice people there as well. So honestly, I wouldn't mind that much. Japan would be my favorite from the 3. Just saying. I went 1-0 Mexico. Looking good so far. Congo defense is decent. I went 2-0 Portugal. Yeah, I might go down to 3-0. Wait for a giant killer upset. Well, yeah, we'll see. PSG again. Kansas. Seattle. What the? Who the hell is this? Oh, this player's female. I'm just saying, I'm not going to get that. No, I don't think so. I need to skip that one. DR Congo, not an easy team to beat. The defenders playing in the Premier League and La Liga. Yeah, look, I hope Congo can give Portugal a good game. I really do. Dzeko, Fenerbahce legend, ball knowledge. Nice one. So yeah, and also to Madalinian for saying Politano. Very well done. Keep going until you fail. But technically, I haven't gone through. It was you lot carrying. More cheating, yes. You know what? I might as well just play this game with you lot in the chat, just to help me. I was in London watching the UCL final. Yeah, it was a tough one. Tough one, but great experience. I mean, the overriding emotion I had in the Champions League final, being in that stadium, is pride. Just being, very proud of the team, and it is what it is. But I think Arsenal could be back. I'm not sure about next season, but they need to really bolster that attack and the midfield to go to the next level. PSG won without scoring from open play, and goalkeeper made no saves in the shootout. That's what I mean. I think if Arsenal just get their shots on target in the penalty shootout, I think they go on to win it. And the Eze one was the game changer for me. Still, pretty impressive ball knowledge. I thought it was an Italian player, but then I was like, is that even going to count? Because, well, Italy aren't in the World Cup, unfortunately. Wait, what? I said skip. Incorrect. Wait, what? I said skip, mate. Hint, this is a currently active player. What? I thought skipping meant going to the next one. What is this about? Are we just getting female players all the time? Oh, yeah, just forget about that, mate. Whatever. Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, but there should be an option there. Just say it. Because I just don't watch women's football like that. So I can't really even be an arser in a position to answer that one. Yeah, with this one as well, interesting. The chips, I might play around with it a little bit more afterwards, but I've at least got the predictor stuff sorted for the most part, and my bracket, which is very interesting with the group stages and the knockouts. But thanks everyone for tuning in. And for those tuning in late, just a bit of a reminder, this is my Matchday 1 squad. I've got Laporte in place for Llorente on Matchday 2, and still 2 free transfers at my disposal. Red card and penalty for Mexico. Yes. So there you go. Things have definitely spiced up. I'm going to be tuning into the game and enjoying the World Cup, as you say. Yeah, you get more clues, but I'm not going to get that. It's a female player, and I don't know anything about women's football apart from Arsenal, the Champions League winners from last year. Yeah, Mexico penalty. South Africa down to 10 men. Not 9 yet. It was a memorable season. Still, it's more difficult to keep going from here. Yeah, it's just, I think it was a great opportunity for Arsenal to win 2 or 3 trophies, and they reached 2 finals, so yeah, a bit disappointed from that perspective, but at least they got the Premier League over the line, and hopefully they now win some more cups and trophies over the years and dominate English football. That's my hope. Enjoy the World Cup as well, Sofair. There's no way they messed up with the Who I Am I Game 2. I'm just saying, when they say skip, I'm thinking, okay, you skip to the next question. Yeah, just giving more, Oh, by the way, it's a free kick, not a penalty. Or am I just delayed? No, I'm not. So yeah, it wasn't a penalty in the end. It was a red card and a free kick, just for clarity. But yeah, I am very far behind when it comes to that. And now I'll be watching it live and calling this, well, quits for the first deadline stream for World Cup Fantasy this year. I did obviously cover every single deadline a few years ago, the Club World Cup last summer, the Euros, the Champions League, and FPL as well. So very consistent with that output, the videos and live streams. There is more headed your way going into Matchday 2. If you haven't done so already, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content, not just for World Cup Fantasy, but also FPL and the Champions League. And follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, and check all the links in the description. My Patreon and the Championships, fair likes to my videos, proud to comments, amongst many other perks. My Discord server, the World Cup Fantasy League, and Spotify can also be found in the description. I'll see you next Friday, or next Thursday, I should say. I don't know why I kept saying Friday. So it's going to be next Thursday on the 18th of June. I'll be going live once again, and keep your eyes peeled for more World Cup Fantasy content over the summer.